don't believe in shooting stars, but she believe in shoes and cars. Wood floors in the new apartment, couture from the store's departments. You more like love to start. I'm more of the trips to Florida, order the hors d'oeuvres, views of the water, straight from a page of your favorite author. And the weather's so breezy, man, why can't life always be this easy? She in the mirror dancing so sleazy. I get a call like, where are you, Yeezy? And try to hit you with the old wafty, till I got flashed by the paparazzi. These got me, I hate these more than a Nazi.
I know you love to show off, but I never thought that you would take it this far. But what do I know?
Flash, lights.
What do I know?
Flash,
I know it's been a while, sweetheart, we hardly talk. I was doing my thing. I know what was fair, baby, hey, babe, lately you've been all on my brain. And if somebody would've told me a month ago, front and oh, yo, I wouldn't wanna know. If somebody would've told me a year ago, it'd go get this difficult. Feeling like Katrina with no FEMA, like Martin with no Gina, like a flight with no visa, first class with the seat back, I still see ya. In my past, you on the other side of the glass of my memories museum. I'm just saying, hey Mona Lisa, come home. You know you can't roam without me.
All right, folks out there in Zoom land. How's everybody doing? I believe we're just getting things started here. My name is Eric Burnett from Fireside Events. We are live right now at Fireside Events Studio up in Allison Park. And this is the pre-show event. You know why we're here. We're here for the Burgh Brides Wedding Q&A virtual seminar. It's awesome. It's all started. You can see it right down there. I'm trying to look at my monitor over here. And right down there in the sort of center of your screen. We're ticking down 16 minutes and 18 seconds until we start this event officially. So thank you for all of you who've logged on early, all of our industry professionals. Thank you for your contributions. We're just getting things started, folks. And I do want to draw your attention to a few things. We do have this text to screen over here. You can see it on the top left-hand side of your screen. So go ahead, use that number, 412-307-9979. Text us how you're feeling. We want to know what you're up to tonight. Well, we know what you're doing, but we want to know what songs you want to hear. I'm DJing for the next 15 minutes. We also want to see some pictures. We want to see how you're dressed. We want to see how you're getting ready to enjoy this Burgh Brides event. So send it in, get it going, 412-307-9979. That's how you're going to get up on the big screen. Let's get this thing going. 15 minutes till the start of our program. Here we go.
If you wanna run away with me, I know a galaxy and I could take you for a ride. I had a premonition that we fell into a rhythm where the music don't stop for life. Glitter in the sky, glitter in my eyes, shining just the way you like. If you're feeling like you need a little bit of company, you met me at the perfect time. You want me, I want you, baby. My sugar boo, I'm levitating. The Milky Way, we're renegading. Yeah, 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 yeah. I got you.
That's right, folks. We're just getting things started here. Send in those requests.
On your mark, ready, set, let's go. Dance floor pro, I know, you know, I go psycho when my new joint hit. Just can't sit, gotta get jiggy with it. That's it, now honey, come ride. DKNY, all up in my eye. You got a Prada bag with a lot of stuff in it. Give it to your friend, let's spin. Everybody
pretty cool, guys. You can see back here over my right-hand shoulder, you can actually see into the main studio of Fireside Events. That's right. We've got the main wall in there. That's where the main event is going to be taking place in 14 minutes. Get ready for it.
Willie Styles all in it, getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. Getting jiggy with it. What?
Give me your attention.
That's right, folks. Once again, get interactive, folks. We want to see your comments. We want to see your faces up here on the text-to-screen wall, 412-307-9979. Also, be sure to activate your Zoom chat at the bottom of your screen and start talking. We want to hear from you guys. We're all in it together. Let's go. Shout out right now to Samantha from Wanderlust. I see you out there, Samantha, looking good. Samantha's one of our panelists tonight. Looking forward to hearing from her very soon. All right, once again, folks, we're just getting things started. You can see the countdown clock right here in the center of your screen. We've got 11 minutes and 35 seconds until the beginning of our Burgh Brides wedding Q&A. So get ready, guys. While chasing the clouds away, our hearts are ringing in the key that souls are singing. Still waiting for that first brave soul to send something into that text-to-screen window. So go ahead, text away, folks. You know you're capable of doing it. You all have one of these in your laps. So go ahead, send in a photo, send in a song request. We want to play what you want to hear. We've got 11 more minutes to party together. Don't be afraid to get up out of your feet. Let's go.
Time to jump on it, jump on it, jump on it. Keep us on it.
There we go. We got Victoria. She just tuned in with a picture on the text-to-screen from our studio right behind me. I love it. Thank you, Victoria. She says she's ready for us. She can do it. So can you. Go ahead. Text into screen, folks. Let's get it going.
I'm passing. Jump on it, jump on it. Unga, 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 unga.
I'm Big Bang, I am the chief. I got a lot of raps, but I'll be brief. I never need a horse, I like to chill. So I drive up in my new Seville. My tribe went down in the Hall of Fame, cause I'm the one who shot Jesse James. Pound for pound, I will never break down. Big Bang. No, sir, I don't mess around. Oh!
That's right. Once again, folks, if you're just tuning in with us, welcome. This is the pre-show here at Fireside Events. That's right. We're 8 minutes out from the beginning of our Burgh Brides virtual Q&A. So excited for you all to be here. We've got over 250 guests who are going to be joining us tonight. This is awesome. Again, you're seeing it right now. Victoria's got her photo right there. She's in front of the green screen wall. But just know, you don't have to be a part of our show in the studio in order to send a text to screen. Go ahead and send it to us. We want to see what's going on. We want to see how you're getting ready for this Q&A, how you're getting geared up for this incredible evening. Who's that weirdo? Seriously, who let that guy in? Shouldn't we have, purged that photo and not let it through?
This is worldwide to infinity. You know the roof on fire. We gon' boogie, oogie, oogie, jiggle, wiggle, and dance like the roof on fire. We gon' drink drinks and take shots until we fall out like the roof on fire. Now, baby, get my booty naked, take off all your clothes and light the roof on fire. Tell her, baby, 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 I'm on fire. I tell her, baby, 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 I'm a fireball.
Let's go, folks. The perfect way to warm up to a virtual Q&A is by getting on your feet and dancing.
I saw, I came, I conquered, or should I say I saw, I conquered, I came. This little chico on fire, he no lie. Well, y'all slipping, he's running the game. Now, big bang boogie, get that kitty little noogie in a nice little shave. I gave Susie a little pat up on the booty, and she turned around and said, walk this way. I was born in a flame. Mama said that every word was on my name. I'm the best you've ever had. If you think I'm burning out, I never am.
Folks, if you're just now joining us, we are less than 6 minutes away from the Burgh Brides virtual wedding Q&A seminar. My name's Eric Burnett from Fireside Events. I'm honored to be your pre-show DJ.
Fireball.
I know a bunch of y'all have been stuck in Zoom meetings for the last 2 years and they've been boring. Tonight is the time to turn the tide. We'll show you how fun it can be.
Girls be looking like they be fly. I pimp to the beat.
4 minutes, 20 seconds. Let's see how many songs we can mix in between now and then. We gotta get you hyped. We gotta get you pumped. We gotta get you ready for this wedding Q&A. That's right. We got vendors, industry professionals. They're gonna answer some questions. They're gonna tell you what's up. They're gonna get you real pumped for your wedding.
When I walk in the spot, this is what I see. Everybody stops and is staring at me. I got passion in my pants and I ain't afraid to show it, show it, show it, show it. I'm sexy and I know it. I'm sexy and I know it.
220, 320. Let's go, count it down. Tell you what, I know it. I know that we're gonna get one more person in the next 2.5 minutes to send in a photo on this text to screen. It's easy to do. 412-307-9979. Send us a photo, send us a comment. Yes, there it is! Awesome! Blog to Blog Bridal, they've done it! Thank you so much! I do need a coffee. I need it, seriously. Honestly, I don't know what would happen if I drank caffeine right now. I might just blow up through the roof. Try and stay away from it. 2-minute warning, folks! Minute and 45 seconds!
I'm on the floor, I love to dance, so give me more, till I can't stand. Get on the floor, like it's your last chance. If you want more, then here I am. Starships were meant to fly.
Don't be afraid, get them up. Don't be afraid to get them up.
Can't stop, 'cause we're so high. Let's do this one more time. Starships were meant to fly. Hands up and touch the sky.
Get them up, get them up.
Let's do this one last time. Can't stop, we're higher than
That's right, folks. 42 seconds. Last song of the night. Let's bring it.
Move your body out on the floor. Put your troubles aside. Start living. Anybody can let go. Throw away all your problems. 'Cause right now it's party time. Girl, don't feel out of place. 'Cause I'm in love with this feeling now. I hope that this will last a while.
Here we go. Let's count down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to toss it right now, folks. Thank you so much. This has been the pre-show for your Burgh Brides virtual Q&A for all you wedding folks out there. My name is Eric Burnett from Fireside Events. It's been a real pleasure to get you pumped up and ready for this virtual experience like none other you've probably ever seen before. But to lead the charge at the helm, we're going to go straight to her right now. You know her. You love her. Very familiar. The leader of Burgh Brides. Let's go ahead and give a virtual round of applause to Victoria Deerdorf.
Thank you, Eric. That was quite the introduction. I would love to thank you all for being here tonight. Welcome to the first ever Burgh Brides virtual wedding planning Q&A. Thank you so much for being here again. Like Eric said, I am Victoria. I am the owner of Burgh Brides, and I want to get to know all of you. You guys are the real VIPs of this event tonight. And this actually stopped working, and so I can't move the teleprompter, but that's okay. I'm just gonna start ad-libbing. So in the chat box, you can feel free to introduce yourself and say hello, tell us your name, tell us your wedding date. There are lots of wedding vendors here, so feel free to introduce yourself as well. But start the conversation going in the chat box. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that tonight. That is where you can submit questions to our panelists. The way this evening is going to go is we have broken the event up into different segments so that you can have the opportunity to pose questions to each and every panelist. So we have it timed. And at some point, the schedule is going to pop up on the screen, so you'll be able to see how the night is going to flow. So we have a lot of panelists. We have a lot of registrants. I think the last time I checked, we were over 260 people had registered, which is just crazy. So we have a jam-packed evening, and I'm going to try to get to as many questions as possible. Unfortunately, we won't be able to get to everyone, but like I said, I'm going to try to get to as many as possible. You can feel free to submit those questions. There will be several polls that pop up on your screen, and those are just a chance for us to get to know you, for us to interact with you a little bit. So you'll see several of those pop up on your screen throughout the night. So if we want to go ahead and just jump right in, because we do have such a jam-packed schedule, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my first guest, who is Samantha, the co-owner and lead planner and designer of Wanderlust events. They are a sister team that offers full service and partial planning packages, as well as day of coordination. A fun fact about Sam is that she went to school for early childhood education and had zero plans of being a wedding planner, but now she's one of the most highly sought after planners in Pittsburgh. So welcome, Sam. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Victoria. That was a lovely introduction, and I'm so excited to be here as well. My sister Allie unfortunately had prior plans. She's bummed she's missing out. I was sending her pictures from the little pre-party there, and she's a little jealous. So
yeah. Well, you'll have to tell her we said hi. I know that several questions were submitted that pertain to you in particular. And one of them is, can you briefly explain the difference between a full service planner and a day of coordinator?
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the biggest things with full service planning is your planning is going to start immediately. So most of the time people reach out and they don't have anything started, or they may just have a venue picked out and a date, but need help with everything else. A lot of times, especially nowadays, brides are finding so much inspiration online, on social media and Pinterest, and they come to you and say, I have no idea how to bring this to life. So I need help from beginning to end. I know I want you there the day of to execute it. So full service includes all of the planning, all the little details. We help with vendors, timelines, contract management, budget, decor, design, the whole 9 yards. The day of coordination package typically starts about 2 months before your wedding, even though it usually is called day of coordination. Most of us in the industry call it month of coordination. And really even more than that, we start about 2 months out. At that time, we collect your contracts from all your vendors. We review them all just to make sure all of your bases are covered for the day. We help with your timeline if you don't have one started, working with your vendors to get everything figured out for the big day. And then we're there all day to help plan and execute. So big differences, of course. A lot of the planners in Pittsburgh also will do partial planning packages, which we also offer. So we'll do a little bit more than day of, but a little bit less than full scale, excuse me. And then we also have like a la carte services and things like that if you just need someone to set up or tear down for you or things of that nature.
So you guys really provide the full gamut, whether someone needs just a little bit of help or whether they want help with everything from A to Z.
Absolutely, we do. And one of the biggest things that we found clients really like about what we do is that we do custom pricing for all of our clients. That's one of the reasons we don't have our pricing listed on our website for each of our packages. We do have loose packages listed, and we can tell you what starting prices are in your initial email when you reach out, just to make sure we're in the ballpark. But then we do a consultation call or a Zoom, or we meet you just to get more information about your wedding. No two weddings, of course, are alike. Some of them have 300 people, some of them have 100 people, and they can be in completely different venues that require a lot more work from us. And then also some that require a lot less work from us. So we like to be fair both to ourselves and then also to the clients in giving them pricing that sort of reflects their actual needs.
So I think that hiring a wedding planner, or at least a day of coordinator, is worth every single penny. And I like to tell couples that a day of coordinator or a wedding planner allows you to be a guest at your own wedding. So do you feel like that's a pretty fair assessment?
Sure. Yeah. The day of, especially, people tend to get so overwhelmed and worried about the little details. Even some of our clients who have us as planners and day of coordinators still are overly involved, and they want to be. It's their own wedding and they want it to be, reflecting them as a couple, and they want to make sure that you're kind of carrying out your responsibilities, and all the vendors are as well. But one of the biggest compliments that we get at the end of the day usually comes from the grooms or the parents who are a little skeptical and said, I don't know why my fiance thought we needed a planner, or why my daughter or son did, but you've been so helpful, and just so many things that the moms in the bridal party and the bride and groom themselves don't have to and shouldn't have to take care of that day. They should just be able to sit back, relax, and know that they've got a great team of professionals, and then a planner or day of coordinator as well, who's overseeing all those professionals, just to make sure everything comes together just how they envision it.
Absolutely. I feel like the last thing that a couple should do on their wedding day is worry about things like, have the flowers been delivered to the church, or have the linens been put on the table, or does the limo driver know where he's going? It's things like that a wedding planner, a day of coordinator can take care of, so that you can sit back, relax, sip a mimosa, enjoy yourself, and worry about the most important thing, which is getting married.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And I think that everyone probably who's here tonight speaking as a panelist would agree.
Yeah. Now, a question that I hear very frequently is if a couple's venue has a coordinator on staff, do they still need to hire a wedding planner?
So all venue coordinators, of course, are different, and all venues are different. What we usually say in response to that question is that venue coordinators work for the venue, whereas we work for you, the clients, the bride and groom. We start working with you and take care of all the details of your entire day. So from the time you wake up in the morning till the time you guys get back to your hotel or your after party, we're going to help you through all of those little details. Whereas the venue coordinators are usually concerned more with their venue specific questions. So whether your ceremony and reception are both happening at that venue or just your reception, the day of coordinator from a planning team will be there every step of the way to make sure you have one person who definitely knows what your desires are for the day and to make sure things are running smoothly. And we love venue coordinators. Of course, it makes our job easier. And I think that they agree most of the time that it's great whenever clients have planners as well. It just makes everybody's job easier. And the more professionals you have on your side for your big day, of course, the better, because our goal is all the same, which is to help you have a fabulous wedding.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the best case scenario is when there is a venue coordinator and the couple has hired a day of coordinator, and those two can work in tandem with each other. And that way, literally every base is covered. No detail will go forgotten or unthought of. Everything will be taken care of. That is like the best dream scenario, right?
Yes, works so wonderfully for us. And like I said, we love most of the ones in Pittsburgh. We have a great experience working at all the venues. So yeah.
So I also get this question a lot as well, and this is kind of a loaded one. But couples want to know the average cost of a wedding or what they should budget for their wedding. Now, I'm not going to ask you what the answer is because it's a very loaded question, but like why isn't there a clear-cut answer? What are some things that need to be factored in when determining a budget that works for you?
Yes, I love the way you loaded that, or you propose that. It is a loaded question. And we have clients reach out all the time and just say, hey, I'm planning for this much. Is this enough? And there are so many questions to be asked in order to kind of give you a clear answer. Every wedding, again, is so different. Different venues include different things in their rental fees, and other venues don't. So you have to take into consideration the things that are most important to you and determine sort of a list of what it is that you and your fiance care most about, whether it's flowers or the entertainment or the food or photography. It's just different for everyone. So it's tricky to just sort of put a number on it because no number is going to be the same for everyone. A lot of times people say, well, how much should I expect to spend? I want to have an affordable photographer. Well, there's lots of different definitions of the word affordable depending on your lifestyle and how you live and how much money you make and things like that. So just like there's no real answer to that, there's no real answer to, you know, a good budget for a wedding. The best thing to do is just to have conversations very early on with family, your fiance, whomever you think is going to contribute towards your wedding. Before you start any plans or looking at venues, it's really important to just figure out what number you're working with, give or take. Most people haven't planned weddings before. Maybe they've done a little events, birthday parties, or things of that nature, but most people just honestly don't know what things cost. And unfortunately, with COVID lately, the cost of certain things are going up, which changes things as well. A lot of times parents say, well, when I got married, it was this much. Well, as we all know, things have gone up since all of our parents have gotten married. So yeah, it's loaded just because there's so many different factors that play into it. Different venues require different things are important to different couples. So it's important to try to figure out what it is, the number that you are working with, and then to go based off of that number, try to find a venue first and a date, and then sort of figure out in order of importance what you want to spend your money on.
Absolutely. And you mentioned COVID, and I think that's a good segue to the last question that we're going to have for this segment. How has the pandemic impacted wedding planning industry, particularly the timelines, the wedding planning timelines that couples are told, that they need to follow in order to plan in a timely manner? How has COVID affected those?
Sure. So like anything, COVID, of course, has had a huge impact, especially on the events industry. A few years ago, prior to COVID, we were able to plan weddings in a year. And nowadays we still are, they're just looking a lot different. A lot of times the prime Saturdays that most people want to get married, whether it's spring, summer, fall, those dates are not available right now just because of the push from all of the people who were scheduled to get married in 2020 and 2021. We have clients, unfortunately, who we started planning with in 2018 who are still not married just because they kept pushing and they wanted to be able to have the celebration that they envisioned. So they're hopeful to get married at the end of this year. They want to do it safely and in the way that they envision. So yeah, things are just taking longer. If a prime Saturday is important to you, then you are looking at a longer engagement likely, just because a lot of those Saturdays that weren't already pre-booked are getting taken up now by clients who have had to reschedule 1, 2, sometimes even more times.
Yeah.
Not to mention just like the flower industry has been hit so hard by COVID. Flowers are harder to get and there's glass shortages, and this goes back to sort of the price of things all going up. COVID's just had sort of the bombshell effect on all of the wedding industry. So it's definitely pushing things back just a bit for people. So hopefully, you're patient. If you don't mind a Friday or a Sunday wedding, we're always encouraging people to look at options for those. Some people, of course, moving to backyards on Saturdays and things like that, which is also a great option if you have the space.
Yeah, those shorter planning timelines are possible. They just require a lot more flexibility. But I feel like we could have an entire evening dedicated to Sam and picking her brain on the logistics of coordinating a wedding. But we are going to move to our next segment. But before we do, Sam and Allie of Wanderlust are giving away a free rental package to anyone who books a wedding planning package. So we have a very fancy Wheel of Fortune type raffle app that we are going to use to help select a random winner. So again, if you book a package with Wanderlust Weddings and Events, you are going to get a free rentals package, which is an awesome upgrade. So I hope that you guys are able to see this Wheel of Fortune thing because it's pretty cool. So I guess we will just spin it and see who the very lucky winner is. So Mary Beth, I will contact all of these winners afterwards and I will hook you up with the prizes and I will connect you with who you need to be connected with. But there you go, our first winner, very exciting. So we are going to now move to our wedding photo and video segment. And my next guest is Christina. She is the photographer and videographer behind Christina Montemurro Photography and Video. She is in her 14th season and she produces classic and timeless wedding day coverage. She has experience in all kinds of lighting situations, venues, with all types of people, and she prides herself on staying as unobtrusive as possible. I like to call her the photo and video ninja. When she's not busy with weddings, she's an avid runner, and she actually ran across the entire country of Iceland last year, so no big deal, right? So thank you so much for being here, Christina.
Hi, Victoria. Thank you
Hi.
for having me.
Yeah. So very loaded question also. I'm just like jumping right in with you guys. Can you briefly explain the differences between photography styles? Because I think a lot of couples, A, don't know that there are differences, and B, don't know how to tell the difference between the styles.
Sure. So I think that the easiest thing when you're looking at photographers to start with is their editing or post-processing style. So what do the colors of their photos look like? And there are a number of different things you can start with, but that's a good place to start because it's really easy visually to just look at somebody's photos and say, are these colors true to life? Like, does this look classic and timeless? Or is it maybe a slightly trendier style where there's a lot of shadows, where it's kind of dark and moody, which is one trend. Or there's also kind of the opposite trend where the photos are really bright and light and airy, and the greens are almost like a minty green. So I would look at those styles first and say, which one of these do I like? Which one of these do I most connect with? And then from there, the next thing I would look at is, which photos do I really feel connected to in these photographers' portfolios? Are they really candid, emotional moments? Like, is it a moment when you were getting ready where it's like the bride and her sister or her mom? Or maybe it's a grandparent listening to a speech, or a grandparent watching somebody come down the aisle. Or do you get really excited about more stylized detail kinds of photos, like where there's the whole invitation suite laid out with ribbons and flowers, and more kind of artsy portraits? Because if it's one or the other, that's going to really help you decide, am I looking for somebody that's more of a photojournalist, if you like those really emotional moments, things that are just happening organically? Or do you like the things that are more stylized and set up and staged by the photographer? Because those are really two different kinds of things. And there's maybe not a ton of overlap. If you're really strong in one of those things, you may emphasize the others a good bit less. So I would look at those things, and then I think the photographer's personality and how much you connect with them is also going to be so important.
It's huge.
So once you identify, this is a style that I like, whether it's the processing, or whether it's the more candid moments or the more stylized moments, just keep in mind that this is somebody that's going to be with you, really close to you, more than anybody else the entire day, more than any of your family and friends. And if you love your photos and you think they're beautiful, but it was kind of painful getting them because you didn't mesh well with this person, or either you felt like they should have directed you more, or you wish that they had left you alone more and just let you enjoy the day and, just kind of hang out a little bit more, and that you didn't need to spend an hour taking portraits. That's so important because it's going to affect how you feel about your photos later on.
I think you did such a wonderful job at answering that question. And the amount of knowledge that you just shared in just, 5 minutes was really invaluable. I find that a lot of couples will start off looking for a photographer based on price and availability. And there are lots of other factors that I feel like should be considered when hiring someone as important as a photographer. You're going to spend more time with that one vendor than likely anyone else. Among the team that you have hired for your wedding day. They are going to be witnessing some of the most intimate moments, your first kiss, your first dance, getting ready in the morning. And it's so, so important that you actually like spending time with that person. So finding someone who's a good fit for you personality wise is definitely something that I think couples should consider. And hopefully, just the few tips that you provided about the differences in photography styles will be really helpful to a lot of people. So another question that I hear a lot is a second shooter really necessary?
So no, but it depends. So some of the reasons that you would definitely want a second shooter, or I would recommend a second shooter. One would be if the couple's not getting ready in the same location and you want photos of them both getting ready, and it's physically impossible for one person to go to both of those places, then yes, you want a second photographer. Another reason would be you're getting married at a really big venue, like say St. Paul's in Oakland, the Carnegie Music Hall foyer, Soldiers and Sailors, places with balconies. I should just say that. Big places with balconies. It can be hard in a tight timeline for one person to get up there. But maybe it can be done. It kind of depends on your priority. Another reason would be big bridal parties and tight timelines. So if you have a limited amount of time and you have a lot of people to photograph, if you have a team where one photographer can photograph one side of the bridal party and the other one can photograph the other side, that is going to be a huge help. And also with a tight timeline, it would give you the opportunity for one person to go and photograph the reception space and the reception details, where if your timeline's really tight, like you didn't want to see each other before the ceremony, which is totally fine, and I absolutely respect that decision, but it can make things very exciting if you also really want reception detail photos.
Yeah, I think it's all about just kind of weighing the pros and cons and thinking about your timeline for the day and what's most important to you guys before deciding if a second shooter is something that you need. Now, you also shoot video, and I'm hoping that you can kind of talk a little bit about how video can capture, what video can convey that photos cannot. Because I am a big proponent of hiring a videographer, but I know that some people don't have room in their budget for a videographer, or it's just not high up on their priority list. But I feel like video is one of those things where you don't realize how amazing it is until after you already have it back. And you're like, oh, I'm so glad we splurged on that video. I'm so glad we invested in that video. So in what ways can video capture something that photos might not be able to?
Well, the most obvious one is sound, that videos cannot capture sound. You will never hear your videos or speeches. I'm sorry, not videos, vows. You'll never hear your vows in a photo or speeches. Just to use the example, because it just happened a couple days ago, the Super Bowl. How many billions of dollars do people pay for a Super Bowl commercial? Because how much can you say in that short period of time in video? Does anyone pay billions of dollars for a print ad? And keep in mind, I'm a photographer, so I'm not knocking the value of photography. Obviously, photography is extremely important, but video just kind of hits you in a different place because of the ability for it to be multi-sensory and to tell a cohesive story in a really short period of time. So a 5-minute video can hit all of the emotions. It can make you laugh, it can make you cry. And there are some moments that just don't really translate to a photo that can be really impactful in video. And the one that I always think of, because I hear so many brides talk about how they can't wait to see the groom's face when they walk down the aisle. And a lot of guys don't show a ton of emotion, but they almost all take a deep breath like that. Now, capturing that deep breath when we've already built up the anticipation of them through their getting ready footage, and then we combine that with the footage of the bride walking down the aisle and smiling because she sees his face, it's extremely powerful in a way that you just can't kind of tell that immersive story in a video.
I cannot tell you how many wedding videos of people that I don't even know, I've never met them, have moved me to tears. And that's just it. There's just something about video that just, you said it in such a great way. It just hits you in all of the emotions. It has a way of just really evoking those emotions that photos can't do. And I love my wedding photos. Beth, I love you so much. But our wedding video has made me cry in a way that my photos never have. And that there's just something so special about reliving your wedding day and hearing your vows again. And, you know, I still cry when I listen to my dad's speech. So there's just a lot of things that, a lot of ways that video can tell a story that photos cannot. And I want to remind everyone that if you do have questions, to feel free to submit them in the chat box. I'm keeping an eye on like 4 screens right now. So if you see my eyes darting all over the place, it's like, I feel like I'm at WTAE here with all this equipment and this green screen. But Christina, last question. If someone does want to spring for a video, what is the recommended length? Is a highlight reel good? Is a full length film good? Is there something in between? What do you recommend to clients?
So it's such a tough question because everybody's personal preferences are different. If you feel like you just would never, ever get tired of watching your video and you don't care about sharing it with anybody, then you should get the longest possible video that your videographer offers. My personal preference is for the shorter films, because a 5 to 6 minute film, it's really just showing you the highlights of the day. You can edit something like that so creatively to be so emotional and so impactful that you'll just be a puddle of tears on the floor when it's over, and you will have laughed and you will have cried. It will be joyful. You can share it with your friends and your family and your coworkers, and they're going to watch the whole thing. A 20-minute film, your extended family, like maybe your sister or your mom and your best friend are going to watch it. Nobody else is probably going to watch something that long. And if you feel like, well, a 5 to 6 minute film, but we're writing our own vows and our ceremony, and the speeches, well, you can always add that stuff on. At least I do. I would think most videographers probably offer the option to add on your full ceremony or your full speeches. So you can get more, even if you go with a short film.
Yeah, I agree. We have like a 4-minute highlight reel, and it's the perfect amount of time. And now it's really special because we watch it every anniversary, and now we watch it with our son on our anniversary, and that's just like takes the emotion up, like tenfold. So I really, really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being a part of this evening and for sharing your expertise. And we are going to move right into our next Q&A, which is with Erin. Erin's family owns and operates the Grand Estate at Hidden Acres. It is a beautiful wedding venue in Freeport that offers a romantic backdrop for just about any celebration. And Erin jokingly calls himself the worst dancer of all time, but I don't think that's true. But it doesn't stop him from dancing while he cleans up spills on the dance floor. So hello, Erin. Thank you so much for being here. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thank you for this opportunity again.
Yeah. And congratulations to you. I know your family just welcomed a little baby girl, I think today, right?
It was Sunday morning, but just finally home from the hospital today. Yes.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. But I, without a doubt, I am the worst dancer in history. I will, for sure.
Well, that's what makes wedding dancing so fun, is that you don't have to be good at it. It's, you're kind of supposed to be a little bit bad at it.
Yeah, and that people are intoxicated a little bit definitely helps with my self-esteem with that.
Yeah, a little liquid courage. I needed some for this tonight. Okay, so we are going to chat with you all about venue questions. So if anyone has anything that they want to pose to Erin, feel free to drop it in the chat box. But I'm going to start off with a hopefully fairly easy one. What are some things that couples should consider when choosing a wedding venue?
Well, there is so many different venues offer so many different packages. And so in our case, there's actually quite a bit that's included in a normal, our base package. There are so many beautiful venues, but some of them offer, hey, I'm going to take care of everything from tables, chairs, linens, even packages that include centerpieces. And some will just include a space. And and those are perfectly fine. So that's one big thing that you need to keep into consideration, especially that becomes difficult whenever you're kind of looking at different packages and you're comparing different packages. So you got to kind of keep those things in mind, because different venues do offer different packages.
Yeah, there are some venues that offer all-inclusive packages that can include everything from the cake to the linens to the flowers, and you basically just have to hire a photographer and show up. And that makes planning really simple for couples who want to make as few decisions as possible. But then there are other venues who it's basically just a blank slate, and you need to put your own imagination into it to really make it come alive. And those are awesome for couples who really want to be involved in the planning process, and they love being creative and getting to make all of those decisions about the tons and tons of details. So it does all depend on kind of what you're looking for and what experience you're hoping to have.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. So how does a wedding venue play into the overall aesthetic of a wedding? Because I feel like with photos, sometimes couples are venue shopping based off of price and availability alone. But I think that the venue should be considered in the overall kind of aesthetic of the day. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, for sure. And typically, unless you are involving a wedding planner, typically we're your first stop. And so that's always fun. But agree, definitely. If you are looking for a city venue, the Grand Estate is not for you, because we are not in the city. If you are looking for something that's more nature-like, then that's something that we're surrounded by. So I mean, as far as the aesthetic goes, that is that's definitely a high priority. And you need to find a place that fits the aesthetic that you're looking for.
Yeah. And you really do have a beautiful space there. You have a gorgeous ceremony area with a really pretty gazebo. And in the spring and the summer, when the flowers are all in bloom, it's just a really pretty spot to have your ceremony. You have the in-ground pool where I've seen couples do cocktail hour around the pool. And then you have this just incredibly gorgeous draped tent venue where the reception takes place. And I honestly can't think of like a more beautiful tented venue in the city. It's so amazing. But what are some advantages to hosting everything in the same location? So a ceremony, cocktail hour, reception, all in one location. What are some advantages to that?
Well, that's a great question. I would say the biggest advantage is your timeline. With taking away driving time from ceremony spot to the reception spot, just that in and of itself makes your day go a lot more smoothly. But it's our favorite. That's our favorite thing about our venue, is that most of our couples have our ceremony there. Most of our couples even come the day before and have the rehearsal dinner there, and so they kind of get the full weekend package. That's like my favorite thing about our venue, is that we get the entire weekend with our couples most of the time. And to go back to the earlier question, we just added a new ceremony spot behind our gazebo area. We did it twice last year. It's like this really beautiful wooded area. That's a great picture of it right there. But we started doing ceremonies back in that wooded area, and that turned it out to be really, really beautiful.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't know that. I can't wait to see it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we only had 2 last year. So we're hoping to have some other brides and couples that want to try to do that.
Yeah. So let's say someone wants to schedule a tour and they want to come and see your space. Who should be present for a venue tour, and what kind of questions should they ask?
That's a great question. So some people think that they need to bring every single person that's involved at anything for the tour. And that just creates
the whole entourage.
Yeah. So we have, I've have had a tour with like 20 or so people, and this is the first tour. And so that's extremely overwhelming, not necessarily on our part, because we can handle that, but that's overwhelming on your part, because you have so many different opinions and questions that are being thrown out, and it is really hard for you to keep, you know, what is the main thing and what your design is in mind whenever you have 15 other opinions flying out. So that would just be like, I would say bride and groom and maybe both sets of parents. But at that point, once you get further beyond that, especially for your first tour, if you want to make another tour and bring, you know, all of your sisters or all of your brothers over, that's fine. But on your first tour, let's make sure that you capture the vision of what we do, first of all, but then make sure that is fitting for what you're looking for your day.
Yeah, I agree. And I know I mentioned that yours is a tented reception space. And as we know, tented spaces have become more and more popular thanks to COVID, but I think that trend is going to stick around. But what are some considerations that couples should keep in mind when having a reception in a tented space?
Well, that's another good question, because we actually have a sister company of ours that's Classic Tent Rentals, and so we do a lot of tented weddings on that front as well. First thing is, I love Pinterest, but you cannot always get a Pinterest wedding on a tent with a tent structure. Like, I love it. I love that there's so many awesome ideas out there, but if you're trying to do this beautiful Pinterest wedding in a tent, you can do that. There are ways to do that, but that's typically ends up with a lot more budget involved than most people are wanting to do with a tent venue. So that's one thing to keep into consideration. The other thing is just airflow, especially in the summertime. Make sure that you want to have sidewalls around the tent, just in case it were to rain, but you want to be able to open those up to allow airflow in to keep things cool.
Yeah, I know that everyone loves the look of the clear top tents, and they are beautiful. But in, June, July, August, those clear top tents are not so fun because they kind of have a greenhouse effect, and you just end up sweating underneath of those clear top tents in the middle of summer. Even though they're beautiful, it gets pretty toasty under there.
It can, yes. And with us, we just leave in those situations, we leave those sidewalls open, and we're kind of up on a hill. So we have a nice breeze coming through most of the time. So it works out for us here.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Aaron, and for sharing a little bit about the Grand Estate. Go enjoy that new baby. Congratulations again. And we'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
That's where I'm going now.
Yeah, good. So we are going to move right along to our next guest, which is Holly Hanna. She is the name and talent behind Holly Hanna Floral. Since 2016, Holly has been making wedding flower dreams come true. And she says that the favorite part of her job is seeing her clients' faces when they see their wedding flowers for the first time. She calls herself a morning person, and she loves all things sweet, which explains why our first meeting was at a bakery. So thank you so much for being here, Holly. How are you?
Hi, Victoria. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So wedding flowers, big topic. I know that we have a lot of questions to get to about this particular topic. But jumping right in, what are some of the most important things to consider when choosing a wedding florist? Because there are so many amazing ones here in Pittsburgh.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of things to consider. I would say personally, and especially when I'm meeting my clients, I feel like the most important thing is, do you connect with this person? When it comes to flowers, it's very much, as a florist, we're capturing your vision, and a lot of times you can't see it until the day of the event. So you really want to connect personality-wise. You want to click with their style. You want to click with how they communicate. Is it via phone call? Is it via email? All of these things really play into how we do everything, and you need to be able to connect with them. So I'd say definitely shop around for personality and style.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. And it's a very good point. You often don't see the finished product until the wedding day. It's not like a hairstylist where you have a trial and you can tweak things and kind of adjust based on what you like. You really, you're really trusting this person with your vision and bringing it to life. So I think someone who is a good communicator is key. I think you hit the nail on the head with that one.
Yeah.
Now, a question that I hear a lot is couples tend to get worried that they have to know a lot about flowers in order to work with a florist. Is that true?
No, not at all. My job. That's our job as the florist, to help you. Your job is just to tell us what you like. So we will help you kind of navigate what's in season, what's not in season. If you love pink, what are all the options that you can have in pink? So as the shopper, don't stress about needing to know what you want. Just do a little bit of research, maybe figure out what colors you like, maybe what kind of style you like. I always encourage my couples to just send over a couple inspiration photos before we even meet, so I can kind of get to know what you like and what you don't like.
So I don't have to know the difference between a orchid and a carnation.
Nope. I'll explain all of those to you, and I'll even explain the pricing difference and why maybe you like the orchid more than
Good answer. Well, that's actually a good segue into my next question. I want to talk about budgeting for wedding flowers. Now, I know much like, the overall wedding budget and how that's a loaded question. I often hear from couples, what should we budget for wedding flowers? And that is also a very loaded question. So what are some things that couples should consider when determining what they want to spend on wedding flowers?
Yes, that's always kind of a good starting point when you start shopping for your florist, is really figuring out how much you want to spend on your flowers. There really is no cookie cutter answer. What I always say, the two biggest pieces of your budget is how many people are in your bridal party and how many guest tables are we going to have? Because those two things are really going to determine how much money you're going to need to allocate for your budget. Basically, what it comes down to is what types of flowers you like and kind of the price range for those. And then also what style arrangements you want. So if you're dreaming of big, massive arrangements on the guest tables, those are going to cost more money. So if you don't have an endless budget, that's okay. Lean on your florist and say, hey, this is what I think I want to spend. What do you suggest? What do you think would be a good style for my budget? I work with all different size budgets. There's not really a cookie cutter answer, but more or less having an open mind of how to be creative with the dollar amount that you set aside.
So what are some of the things that a couple should know before reaching out to you, before making that initial inquiry? Like, do they have to know how many centerpieces they're going to need? Because that's very early on in the wedding process. They may not know that information.
Yeah, you might not know that. Lots of times we can make an estimate based upon your guest list. So a good thing to know is have your venue, have your date. And then if you could also maybe make a guess on how many are going to be in your bridal party, and also maybe how many guests that you are bringing. Lots of times we can make a guess, like most venues will say they see between 8 and 10. So we'll guess, we could say maybe you'll have 20 tables, and that will get you a ballpark money amount, so that you can start to figure out which pieces you want to choose for your flowers, which things you might want to add on your wish list, just so we can get you some pricing so you can start feeling more comfortable with the idea of booking.
And then as things are finalized, you can sort of tweak and adjust based on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's okay that you don't know the exact thing, and we understand things are going to change. So once you get closer to your date, all florists will allow you to make some sort of adjustment to that guest count.
Yeah. One thing that I really love is when couples invest in their ceremony decor. I feel like the ceremony spot is often it's a forgotten spot, and it usually doesn't get quite the attention that it deserves. But I love when couples will put some money of their floral budget specifically for the ceremony. But what are a few ways that couples can get the most bang for their buck out of that ceremony decor? What are some ways that decor can maybe be reused at the reception?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say ceremony spaces, if we can budget it in, definitely do it. Something else to consider too is probably all of your family portraits will take place at the ceremony. So it's not going to go to waste. So all of your photos will capture those things. So you will get to keep that home with you eventually. Some things to consider. If you're getting married at the same place as your reception, it's much, much easier to reuse your flowers. Let's say you have an archway that you invested in big chunk of your floral budget, that could then be reused as a sweetheart table backdrop. It can be used as a photo backdrop during cocktail hour. There are opportunities to reuse. If you are having a church ceremony, depending on the church, sometimes they do allow you to take those altar pieces with you. So you could take those two and you can put them on either side of your sweetheart table. You can put them somewhere else. Maybe there's like an entryway, a hallway that is viewed later on that your guests will walk through. You can always put the arrangement there. So as long as you're choosing something that's maybe flexible with your ceremony, something that can be moved, then you have the opportunity to be able to reuse it. And that's a great thing to ask your florist as well, being like, hey, I want to try to reuse. What do you recommend?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you are hiring these people because they are the experts. So take advantage of their knowledge and their experience and ask them questions. I guarantee they have ideas that you have not even considered, and they will be able to help you navigate any tricky situation that you might have.
Yes.
Yeah. So some couples say that flowers are a waste and they just die. What would you say to those couples who feel like, spending money on flowers is just something they are totally not interested in doing?
Well, you do have to pick and choose your budget. I understand, but if I can persuade you, I do really think there is value to having flowers at your wedding. It's one of the things that's actually living at your wedding. A lot of the other things we're picking linens, we're picking lighting, we're picking all of these other elements, but you don't really have anything living on the table and bringing nature in or having that emotional connection. It's there with the flowers. They're natural. It's life on the table. Everybody's always like, ooh, flowers. To me, it also adds elegance and class, and it also completes your look. So you can have the beautiful chairs and the beautiful linens and the chargers, but adding that centerpiece in the middle really completes the look. So if you have this vision that you're trying to accomplish, a lot of times flowers does complete that vision. But that's my opinion. So I definitely would say look into it. Maybe you can't do the whole entire wedding. Maybe you can just do your bouquets, or maybe do corsages for your moms and your grandmas. There are ways to incorporate fresh flowers in everybody's budget. It's just picking and choosing which pieces are most important to you.
Yeah, there is a question that I see in the chat box that I actually want to address. Someone was wondering if florists will do just bouquets. So there are some florists who, thanks to COVID, introduced a floral package specifically for micro weddings and elopements that can include just bouquets and boutonnieres, or just bouquets and maybe a few small centerpieces. Holly, I know you had a package like this at one time. I'm not sure if you still do, but I know that there are several other florists in the area who do what they're calling like little wedding packages. And there are a few of those florists in the Burgh Brides vendor guide. So if that's something that works for your wedding and fits your budget, definitely I would ask about those.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all different types of florists, just like there's all different types of photographers. So do your research, look around, ask for recommendations. If you are loving a certain florist on Instagram, reach out to them, be like, hey, I'm looking for X, Y, and Z. If you don't offer this service, can you give a recommendation that's similar to your style? That's what I recommend.
Absolutely. Now, what are some ways that couples can infuse their personality into their wedding flowers? Because we're all about making those details of a wedding very thoughtful and meaningful. So what are some ways they can do it with their florals?
That's great. I really love talking to couples about how they can customize their wedding. So everything we do for flowers, it's completely you. You get to pick everything. So that includes the colors, the style of flowers, and picking those colors and those styles reflect you as a couple. There are other sentimental things that we can do, is sometimes family members will have like a piece of mom's dress, or maybe a piece of grandpa's tie, or some sort of photo. We can always incorporate those into personal items that are carried down the aisle or worn that day. So if you're thinking about wanting to do something else or something different that you might be like, you can always run it by us. We're always open for that. But when you're choosing your flowers and picking your style, I always say sit down together and see how you can make the flowers reflect you guys as a couple. So kind of thinking about all of those pieces and talking to your florist about it will make it feel custom, and it will make it feel like you guys in flower form. As cheesy.
And then you don't feel like the flowers are a waste anymore because they're reflective of you. You know, it's like a personal extension of yourself. And then you just appreciate them that much more.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So we actually had one other question that I want to get to. Someone was asking about floral preservation. And we do have a bouquet preservation category in the Burgh Brides vendor guide that you can check out. We have several great recommendations there. But what are some ways that you work with the bouquet preservationists, and do you work with them, or what are some things that brides can do to sort of prep their bouquet? What should they know about that?
I absolutely recommend preserving your bouquet. It's one of those things that you can have at the end. So a lot of the time, most of your wedding, everything will be gone at the end of the day. You'll have your video and you'll have your photos. So keeping some sort of piece of your bouquet or the boutonniere or something is a great, wonderful way of preserving your day. I don't personally do any preservation, but I do end up recommending people, and going to your website is the perfect place to start. Something to do to prep those flowers so when they do arrive to the preservation girls or guys who are doing it, they aren't dead. So you do want to put your flowers in water. So lots of times this is a great maid of honor or someone else in charge that day when you're not holding your flowers and you're all done with photos. Throw them in a vase, let them stay hydrated, keeping them in a cool space. You don't need to per se refrigerate them. Do not put them in the freezer. Just giving responsibility to someone else that day to take care of your bouquet is all you need to do. And then you can make arrangements with whomever you choose to preserve, and you should be good to go.
Yeah, when I hear that bouquets end up in the trash, I'm like, it hurts my heart so much because they're so beautiful. You should enjoy them. Yeah.
We get a little attached to the bouquets as florists. Yeah. They're kind of like our babies. Give them off to you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. You shared so many great tips, Holly. I really appreciate you being here. And of course, if anyone has any questions for any of these panelists afterwards, you can always hit them up on Instagram or their website if you have additional questions. But thank you so much,
Thank you
Holly.
for having me.
Yeah. So we are going to move right along to our next segment, which is focused on stationery, another one of the beautiful details of the day. And my next guest is Jen. She is the owner of Blush Paper Company. She designs wedding stationery that's elegant and classic, but with a fresh perspective to keep things from ever looking outdated. She takes inspiration from your love story, your color palette, your Pinterest board, and she makes your dream wedding stationery come to life. So thank you so much for being here, Jen.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, good. And I know you just got back from vacation.
We did.
Good. So I hope you had a good time, and thank you so much for being here. I know things are crazy once you return home, but we have lots of good questions to get to pertaining to stationery. And the first one is, everyone says that stationery sets the tone for the wedding. But I think sometimes couples have a little bit of trouble understanding what that means. So can you kind of explain what that means?
Yeah. So invitations do set the tone for your wedding. They're the first glimpse into your wedding that your guests receive. So for an example, you wouldn't send a rustic themed invitation if you're having a ballroom reception. But a ballroom reception wedding, you should send something that's maybe letterpressed and foiled. So I have this invitation, for example.
I love it. You have visuals.
I have props.
I love it.
So this is an Art Deco themed invitation, and it was a black tie wedding. And you can tell from this that it is a Art Deco wedding. You can also tell that it has a little bit of a modern twist, and it's going to be a little bit fun, but you can also tell that you need to be dressed up for this wedding. So that is a great example of setting the tone. You receive this invitation and you think, okay, I'm going to a really classy wedding. So that is how you set the tone with your invitations. It's like I said, it's the first glimpse into it, and you want to kind of set a wow factor for your guests to get them really excited for your event.
Yeah, exactly. It gets people excited. It lets them know what to expect. And I feel like if I receive this beautiful, fancy invitation in the mail, then I'm going to, really try to go above and beyond and make sure that I can be there, because this is like, this seems like the event of the year based on the invitation that I got in the mail. So I'm going to try my hardest to be there. So I think it gets people excited, and it, like I said, it lets them know what to expect. So it really does. Invitations are not just paper.
Definitely not. No, there's a ton of ways you can inject personality and your love story into the paper. And we can talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
It sets the tone of the event. It creates excitement. It's a really fun introduction to your wedding.
Yeah. So how much should couples budget for wedding stationery, or what should they be budgeting for wedding invitations? And likely, as with the other budget related questions, I'm sure that's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question. So it can be really difficult coming into a consultation if you don't know what to expect, budget wise, or things like Pinterest, you kind of want it all. You want the wax seals, the foil, the letterpress, the vellum wraps, the ribbon. And if you don't know what to expect, you can really get sticker shock whenever you see that price. So to answer your question, you quote unquote should spend between 7 and 11% of your total wedding budget on all your stationery. So that includes your save the dates, your wedding invitations, your day of goods, your postage. With that said, I tell my couples to spend what they're comfortable spending. So we can go as high or as low as you're comfortable spending. A lot of factors go into pricing wedding invitations: the paper, the print method. Things like watercolor dictates the print method. If you want to do letterpress for the body of the text, that can dictate what paper we use. So I always say, what's important to you? Do you want to invest your money in the print method? Is the design, is the aesthetic more important? So a lot of factors go into what the overall budget is for paper goods. So it's kind of a loaded question.
Yeah. And I think this is a good way to kind of lead into my next question, because you were really diving deep into the level of service that you provide to your clients and how you really help them figure out what they're looking for and what's going to meet their needs. You're giving us a glimpse into the kinds of questions that you ask your clients. And it's very easy to go online and order wedding invitations and wedding stationery. There are dozens and dozens of online retailers where couples can shop. But what are some of the advantages of working with a local independent designer versus shopping for your invitations online?
There's a lot of advantages. The first one is working live with a one-on-one with a designer. You get that one-on-one experience that you just can't get ordering from a big box store. You get that expertise of somebody walking through with you a very collaborative experience, helping you make paper selections, guiding you through, saying this print method is ideal for this particular paper, or this print method is ideal for this other paper, or let's talk about elevating your stationery with this particular method. Let's look at this ribbon instead of that. So you're not boxed into these single choices and selecting this and selecting that. The sky is kind of the limit. We also guarantee the quality of our service. So we're helping you pick these different things, but we're guaranteeing that it's going to be fantastic because we have the years of expertise. We have the programs to back us up. We're able to guarantee that for you. But I think one of the best services that we can offer is that live one-on-one collaboration and building that relationship with our clients, who often turn into friends.
Yeah. And I think, just this conversation is a great example of the advantages of working with an independent designer. You have someone to hold your hand through that design process, whether you're making something totally custom and unique for your wedding, or you're going with something like a semi-custom template. You have someone there to guide you through that process and through all of the choices. You have someone to advise you on things like the proper wording and different invitation etiquette. Things like that you're not going to find when shopping with an online retailer. It's just, it's like shopping at your favorite local boutique versus shopping at Amazon. They're just very different. So I think it all depends on the type of experience you're looking for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So big question that I often get asked: when should couples order their wedding invitations, and when should they be mailed?
So I typically would have a different answer, but because of COVID,
Everything's because of COVID.
Yeah, because of COVID, I'm currently booking 12 to 18 months out, but you should mail invitations 6 to 8 weeks before your RSVP date. And the reason I say that is because you want to give yourself a buffer to be able to make your table assignments, call stragglers that haven't RSVP'd, to not put pressure on yourself or to feel stressed out the last, 2-3 weeks to your wedding. So you want to have time to do your day of stationery, to make your table assignments, get your escort cards, place cards, signage, things like that done, and have time to work with your designer to get those things designed and printed. So that's when 6 to 8 weeks from your RSVP date is when you want to mail your invitations.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think these days, a longer timeline is always better because, everything is delayed because of COVID. But you mentioned, the day of pieces. What are some of the day of stationery pieces that couples should be considering?
So day of pieces are anything that you use at your reception or during the ceremony. So ceremony programs, welcome basket cards, table numbers, menus, large scale signage, card signs, envelope card signs, cake table signs, cookie table signs, things like that. Must-haves, I would say menus, table numbers, escort or seating chart, place cards, because you want people to know where they're sitting, what table number they're going, or what table they're going to. Everything else is just really fun and I love doing it.
Well, thank you so much. I feel like you shared so many great tips, and hopefully you were able to clear up a lot of those, unknown stationery questions. But before we leave, you have an awesome giveaway that you are giving to one lucky winner. So if your name is chosen in this next Wheel of Fortune raffle, you will get free envelope addressing from Jen at Blush Paper Company. So that is very exciting. All right, so I see that we have our wheel up and it is spinning. And our next lucky winner is, there's so many names on that wheel. Oh, I love the confetti. Oh, Ariana, yay, congratulations. So like I mentioned before, I will contact you and I will connect you with Jen afterwards. But thank you again, Jen, for being here. And we are going to move right along to our ceremony Q&A segment. And my next guest is one of my favorite people, Mark, who is the owner and lead officiant at A Simple Vow. They help couples with pre-marriage preparation and with creating and performing their wedding ceremonies. Now, Mark claims that he has too many books, several ukuleles that he plays poorly, and he says he's willing to wear a bikini if the moment calls for it. So, needless to say, Mark is known for his sense of humor, which is why I love him so much. So thank you so much for being here, Mark.
Oh, absolutely ecstatic to be here. Thanks for having me, Victoria.
Yeah. So first question, how can couples make their ceremony both personal and religious if that's something that they're looking to do?
Yeah, sure. I mean, now this is one of those things where you have to be very careful with this because, different faith leaders are often restricted by the guidelines of their faith. Some are restricted even by their own perspectives. They may be a bit stuck in their ways. But, speaking from sort of like a general interfaith perspective, I mean, you first have to ask yourself, or couples have to ask themselves, exactly how balanced do they want it to be? About what percentage? Do they want it 50-50? Do they want, 90-10? Is it simply just to appease grandma, right? But you know, the biggest thing to do is to simply, focus on certain areas of the ceremony, right? So for example, readings. Readings can be, maybe you choose a secular reading, maybe you choose one scripture reading, maybe one of each. Unity ceremonies, choosing something that resonates with them rather than something that has a specifically religious meaning. And the biggest part too is, of course, writing your own vows. This can mean, full-on love letter style to, maybe a couple just writing simple promises to, adding their own tags or, making sure they end everything with a, look, if you want to do it, by the art of interpretive dance, please go ahead, make it yours, right? Just if you're going to do that, you have to end with jazz hands. But,
always.
Asking your officiant or your pastor. Yeah, absolutely. Asking your officiant or your pastor to focus that sermon part, or their message, on your relationship. Give them the parts that you need or that you want to be included in there.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so wonderful about working with someone like you is because every ceremony is custom built around the couple. It can be personalized to them exactly. And you can weave in as much, faith references as they want, or as little faith references as they want. It can be humorous, it can be serious and romantic. It can literally be any style that they want. And you work with couples to kind of make all of that happen. So on average, what should couples be budgeting? Sorry, go ahead, finish.
Oh, no, I was about to say, sometimes it's just as simple as an opening prayer.
Yeah. So one of the questions that I often get asked is how much should couples be budgeting for an officiant? So again, loaded question, but just on average, do you have a recommendation?
Yeah, with that, I mean, if you want somebody who, for a pro, somebody who's going to give you a personalized, customized ceremony, you want to look at probably somewhere between, at the very least $350, upwards to, $700, depending on the officiant, and their level of experience.
And I know that some couples get hung up on, well, we just want a quick 20-minute ceremony. Why is it several $100s? And something to remember, and this goes for every wedding vendor, a lot of the work happens well before the wedding. You are working with the couple in the months and weeks leading up to their wedding. You are prepping them for this. You are having these consultations where you pull this information out of them and you use it to construct this ceremony that is reflective of them. It's not just about, the time spent performing that wedding ceremony. It's about all of the work that happens beforehand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean that, a wedding ceremony represents anywhere from 10 to 12 hours worth of work that your officiant has put in beforehand, between meeting and writing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. A big trend that we are seeing these days is couples who are writing their own vows. Now, my husband and I wrote our own vows, and they were very different from one another. But that's kind of us. But do you have any tips for couples who are choosing to write their own vows?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things couples do. They get very hung up on this, right? And, first of all, I mean, a couple should not feel compelled. I mean, I've had couples tell me time and time again that, they didn't realize there was any other way. They've never been to a wedding ceremony where there haven't been personal vows, At the same time, others that grew up in the church don't realize that that's an option. The biggest thing is whenever we have couples, I mean, like you said, you and your husband, it was a matter of, yours were very different, right? And that's the big thing. Sometimes you get that, you get the, one of them writes a short novel that might as well be on a scroll, and the other one writes, it's more the postcard kind of person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, and that's the thing. The biggest thing is to sit down beforehand, discuss your expectations, right? Decide on guidelines for each other, format, even if you want to, whether you're going to, whether you're going to do, one page, triple spaced with very wide margins, or whether you're going to, maybe you just want to do a tweet, right?
Yeah.
But, that's the thing. Format, letting your partner know where you are. Decide if you want to share your vows ahead of time, right? A big thing for women, I don't know why, but a lot of times women are afraid of humor. Anytime I get, I actually asked, couples to send over their vows to me ahead of time, right? Just so I know what not to talk about, because the worst thing I could do would be to, steal someone's thunder, so to speak.
Right.
But, most of the time women are afraid of humor. They're afraid maybe they're not funny enough, right? And guys are afraid that, maybe they're going to be too emotional. And that's the big thing. What you feel when you write those vows is what you feel when you're reading them, right? So don't be afraid of the emotion. Just go out there, be yourself, write in your own voice, be genuine. And, even if you've gone online to find examples, read through them again and again and rephrase them to fit your natural speech patterns. All that's so important. Your comfort is key.
Yeah, definitely, because you have all eyes on you in that moment, and all ears are listening, and it can be a little nerve-wracking, especially to say something so personal. But I know we're talking a lot about prepping for the wedding and particularly the ceremony, but I don't want to forget about the pre-marriage preparation services that you offer. So what are some ways that couples can prepare for the marriage, which obviously lasts much, much longer than the wedding day?
No, and that's big, education, enrichment, anything that you can do ahead of time. Your wedding lasts for, one day, that's it. Your marriage lasts you your lifetime. And so, you want to be able to have that good foundation ahead of time. Seek out a relationship coach, a counselor. I know a lot of people have, they think, counseling sort of has that negative connotation, right? That, oh, well, it's broken.
Yeah.
You can't think of it that way. You have to think of that as preventive maintenance, and so, there are great pre-marriage programs. I use one called SYMBIS, which it stands for Saving Your Marriage Before It Starts, which is a great way to, it has an online assessment, and then couples, are able to sit down with me or other facilitators, and we go through everything, talking about things like, their views on love, their views on, how they deal with conflict, how they deal with how they deal with family. And there is a little bit of sex talk, which, we only limit.
Thanks for the warning.
Questions and yes, yeah, absolutely. And of course, my favorite one is whenever couples, the question is if both of them are abstaining from marriage, and one of them answers yes and the other answers no. It's always a little bit of a moment for us. But other than
there's that
I mean,
sense of humor I mentioned.
There are even great things, online. What people find, like there's some great like date decks and things like that, card games that couples can find online.
Yeah.
You just keep in mind that those last 2 months too are crucial. Before the wedding. So couples.
Well, you have very
gracious.
Sorry.
Classes. Yeah.
Well, you have very graciously offered a premarital assessment and coaching session to one very lucky winner tonight. So thank you so much for that generous offer. So we are going to get our very fancy raffle copter up here again. We are going to choose the lucky winner of this, the person who gets to work with Mark. And I removed all of the wedding vendors out of this raffle, so you guys can't win. You're not eligible. These are just for the couples who have signed up tonight. So Caitlin, congratulations. I will connect you with Mark after the live stream is over. Thank you so much for being here again and for sharing your tips and your humor with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
We are going to move right into our next segment. I hope you all are still with me and still enjoying the evening. My next guest is someone who you met already this evening. His name is Eric. He is the owner, event producer, DJ, MC, he wears all kinds of hats here at Fireside Events. And Fireside Events is an event production company, so they do more than just DJing your wedding. They have set up this entire production. They are the ones in charge of this awesome live stream tonight, and they do everything from lighting to confetti canyons to just about everything in between. Fun fact about Eric, he used to be a professional triathlete. Which I did not know about you. So he's going to actually join me live since he is here in the studio.
Let's see if I can fit in.
Yeah,
Am I here? I'm so big.
Okay, we're gonna reorient some things real quick. But while we do that, though, thank you for doing this. This is so cool. You're
much.
crushing it.
Oh my gosh.
You should take a
all
drink of
the-
water.
Yeah,
You should take a drink of water. This has been a marathon session, to say the least, for
Am
Victoria.
I still on camera when I do this?
You can. I mean, no.
I'm just gonna bring my.
Everybody drinks
I'm
water.
talking a lot. I'm thirsty.
Everybody drinks water. There we go. There's the orientation right there. We had to do a little camera switch between the show, but now we're good, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, things are going well. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
This is
thank
so
you.
fun.
You should be an MC. You should come apply for
I'm
Fireside
telling you,
Events.
Elena LaQuatra. I'm gonna steal your job.
Still don't know who that is, but I'll try and work on it later.
All right, so we're gonna pick your brain about all things DJ and entertainment.
Bring it on.
So the one thing that's very peculiar about DJs is it's hard to hire one without meeting them. But I feel like most people, when they're looking for wedding vendors, they search online, they visit their websites, they visit their Instagram profiles, and they try to do some of the homework that way. But with DJs, it's a little bit different because what you do can't really be seen. It has
Right.
to really be heard.
Sure.
So what are some factors that people can think about or consider when they're doing kind of that preliminary DJ search?
Yeah, definitely. Good question.
Yeah.
So a couple things that we offer here at Fireside are recorded mixes. So whether
Yes.
it was from a past wedding or a past private party, or if it's a newer DJ to Fireside, we'll ask them to, because we are a DJ company and we have about eight wedding DJs other than myself. And so we ask them to provide us, with a mix. And so they might even just do a mock wedding of their own and send it in. So I would recommend asking your DJs if you can get a mix from them so you can hear their style. So that's always super helpful.
Yeah.
Another thing is reviews. And I feel like that's important for all vendors, right? Is that there are so many great platforms out there. There's The Knot, there's Wedding Wire, there's Burgh Brides,
Why didn't
right?
you say that first?
Yeah, duh, sorry. I mean, we all know. We're here. We know. So Burgh Brides, go check out the reviews, check out the write-ups there. That's where you can get such a great idea, not just of any vendor, but of your DJ, and you can get an idea of their style, of how they mix music, and also how they're going to interact on the microphone too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now I'll ask you the same loaded question that I'm asking everyone this evening.
Yeah.
Roughly,
How
on
much should the budget?
average, what
I heard you saying it to everyone else, so.
what should couples budget for a wedding DJ?
Sure. So there are, I feel like, and I probably am going to put my foot in my mouth in just a moment, because all of the other vendors are on here and they'll be like, it's the same way for us too. But I feel like wedding DJs, you can find a $500 one, you can find a $3,000 one.
Yep.
And so I really do caution a lot of people to be, a little leery of those just kind of like come and go DJs who are out there just saying, fly by night, $500. So, but if that's, you do get what you pay for, I guess.
I'm
is
a
what
big
trying to
believer
say.
in that.
You do get what
Big
you pay
believer,
for. So
yeah.
if DJs aren't as important for you at your wedding, then maybe that's okay. But I would say on average, for a reception package, reception only, no ceremony, you should be thinking about $1,500. Once you start adding on other elements like the cocktail hour, like ceremony, especially if they're in different spaces, different locations, we were talking about that earlier, then that requires more equipment, that requires more planning, that requires more service. And all of those things factor in to being a little bit of a larger budget. So you have to think about those things.
And I think that some people have trouble swallowing that big number because they think, DJs just play music, right? So I know that's not true, but can you kind of explain a little bit about why that isn't the truth, and maybe the difference between a DJ and a DJ/MC?
Sure. And this might be what you see, that difference in pricing, right? So a $500 DJ is probably going to be just that. They're going to show up, they're going to play music. They probably won't get on the microphone that often. And if they do, it'll be very basic, maybe just a general welcome, but it's not going to be very much master of ceremonies, which is what MC stands for. And in the end, it's being a guide. It's someone who's there to follow a timeline that hopefully they've created with you, right? So that's another thing too. The $500 DJ is probably not going to be sitting down and creating a detailed timeline with you, listing all of your special moments, the songs that go with them, the people that are going to be a part of it. But yeah, that MC who you're paying a little bit more for, they're going to be on the microphone. They'll make sure that everyone's feeling welcome and at home at your wedding. And they're going to guide you all through those special moments. And not just that, but get you excited for them too. You might think when we're just standing here like, I don't really want to applaud
cake cutting. They're just cutting a cake. But a good DJ MC is going to be like, all right, let's give them a round of applause. And not in a corny way, but in a way because that's a moment that should be celebrated, you know? So.
And I think this is I just saw a question come in the chat box. She says, you know, we're not focused on having a big raging dance party. Like, do we still need a DJ? And I think it's very important to consider those special moments. Someone needs to orchestrate them, to set them up, to sort of announce them to your crowd so that guests know what to expect and anticipate, so that your vendors know what to expect. You know, you want to make sure that your photographer's in the room when it's time to do your first dance, and a DJ handles all of that. We're very much team players here at Fireside. We consider all the vendors that are at the weddings that we work at as a part of the team. When we get there, we're one big family, and especially photographers, you know, because we really work hand in hand. In any of those moments, if we're leaving them sort of out of it, we're doing everyone a disservice. So it's a team, and I think that's another big part of being a DJ MC. So it's not just about the dancing. There are lots of other things that DJs are responsible for. Timeline management, just help facilitating the day big time. That's a big part of it. So lots of people have their ceremony and reception at the same venue, but in two different locations. And I get asked about that a lot. You know, some people think that they need to hire two DJs then, which is not true. So kind of how do you explain how you handle, you know, the two setups? Sure. So very similar with what we were saying earlier about budgeting. You know, we touched on it then, is that, you know, it's just that, it's another setup. You know, typically we won't have a controller with us at our ceremony location. And a controller is sort of like what we can use to actually it's today's equivalent of records, right? A record player and mixing music, right? But it's a very updated version of that. Typically, we're not mixing music at wedding ceremonies, so it's more of a more of a mixer with a laptop plugged into it. But essentially, it's another setup over there. So, we just kind of plan that all out. But completely manageable. Completely manageable. All we do is we really arrive a little bit earlier at the venue to set up a separate space. And obviously on the front end of everything, we're doing some more planning with our wedding couples. We're making sure that the processional is all mapped out. We're making sure that it's not just the logistics of everybody and the order they're entering in, but also what songs are being played. If there's live music that's being played, how are we coordinating with them? How are we miking them to make sure that they're heard clearly? And I know that was one of the questions that came in. How do you kind of work with live musicians? Because that was something that we incorporated into our wedding day. We had a DJ, and we also had two musician friends kind of perform for our first dance. And they all kind of have to work together. So how do you guys do that? So first of all, I love, and I feel like all of our wedding DJs here at Fireside love special moments, and they're all special moments no matter what. But when you add those personal touches, when you add friends who are playing live instruments to the equation, it just makes it that much more memorable and unforgettable. And so, our first thing is we'll get their contact information from our wedding couples. We'll reach out to them personally. So it's no extra time that the wedding couple has to do. And we'll touch base with them. You know, we'll ask them, what sort of microphones do you need? Do you need microphones? A lot of string instruments, violins, cellos, they're loud enough as is. So if you have under 150 guests, you probably don't need an extra microphone for them. But we'll ask all of those very important questions to make sure that the relationship between the DJ and the live performer is seamless, and they enhance each other, you know. And most of the time, I'll be honest, we work with live performances in the ceremony. But I'd say once or twice every year, we work with a live band for the reception, and it's so cool. It's so cool because all bands need to take breaks, right? That's a lot of energy up there, right? And so it's just great to be able to keep that energy going with the DJ, and the band has to worry less about emceeing throughout the night too. Live music just like ups the ante on any event, and I think it just elevates everything. So when you can incorporate both and everyone works well together, it's just like the perfect storm. Big time. So I talked a little bit about some of the add-ons and the upgrades that you offer. You guys do some cool stuff. And I mean, I guarantee no one has seen a virtual event like this before. So this is just one example, but talk specifically about what you can do at reception. I'm so glad you asked that, and because it's one of my favorite things to talk about. So add-ons, I feel like, I shouldn't have brought this up. My wife told me we were going through some ideas earlier tonight, but I just have to. I was in Los Angeles for about 5 years DJing out there, and things are just, as you can imagine, maybe a little bit more bravado, right? Like a little more over the top, but it doesn't have to be in a corny way. And Pittsburgh, I feel like
in my opinion, we can elevate it a little bit. We can
Come on,
take it to
Pittsburgh.
the next level, right?
Yeah.
So I've been really trying with my team here to bring in some elements that, again, not over the top, but just kind of open your mind to some different ideas. One of our absolute favorites, something that we've been really trying to get our wedding couples to sign on for, is our video DJing package. So what this allows, and you can actually see it a little bit right there in this photo. So we usually set up a 6 or a 10-foot lighted truss pillar totem with a television screen, 65-inch usually. And what it allows us to do is we can project a custom title card, which just adds a lot of, professionalism. We were talking about stationery and all that.
I was just
beauty,
thinking
right?
wedding branding. We talk about that all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you get that, and it just feels like more of an event whenever something like that is there. So you can do that. You can do slideshows that you've put together during cocktail hour or during dinner. So your guests, if they're in the buffet line, they can be like, or they're in line for the buffet, they can be looking up and like, oh, it's so cool. And then once dancing starts, we can mix music videos. So it just adds this extra level of energy, extra level of hype. Because now instead of hearing like your next song's beat coming in, you're hearing that, but you're also seeing the new music video mix in. So it's really, and the last thing is, one of our other favorite add-ons is our selfie station. So it's a really fun selfie station. And the coolest thing, it's a photo booth, but it's more of a kiosk. And there it is. You can see it right here. Really low profile and very user-friendly. But what's really cool is if you get a live or a virtual or a video DJ package rather, and a selfie station, you can intertwine both of those, and you can have your photos that are being taken, your videos that are being taken on that selfie station projected on the screen throughout the night too. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, just kind of like, it's technical and it's geeky, but it's like, let's nerd out.
It brings your guests in, right? It makes them feel like they are truly a part of the celebration, like they are a participant in your big day. And everybody likes feeling that way.
It's the truth. Yeah. And I think we've touched upon that here during the pandemic more than anything. And that's, to us, these virtual events have taught us more than anything that it's all about interactivity. It's all about connecting. And the more that you can connect with your guests, the more that they're going to walk away from it being like, that was the best wedding I've ever been at.
Right. And everyone wants their guests to say that about their wedding.
Right.
Yeah.
So hopefully our add-ons can do that. And we hope you all can help us take Pittsburgh to the next level.
So what are some of your favorite creative song choices for some of those big moments, like mother, Sundance, cake cutting? Do you have any clients who have just chosen something that was really, really unique but really spectacular?
So I wish I could say that I have like an exact memory of a song that was just like, this was the one. But I tell you what, it's more of a general thing, is that it's the folks who come to us with kind of what we were talking about before, those songs or those elements of their wedding that are super unique, that come from the heart, that I've had speaking of father daughter or mother son, I've had songs that I get the backstory to it, right? I get like, hey, my dad used to sing.
Oh, she's flirting with it.
And it's this song you've never really heard before, and maybe not even won't stick in your mind forever, but just the fact that it is this special glimpse into their lives. And a lot of times they'll have us announce that on the microphone before we start playing it. And that doesn't have to happen, but just the fact that it is that special connection, it makes it more memorable to me. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So those are my favorite. That's really my favorite anything with weddings is when you put your personal signature on your day.
That's the key. I mean, that is, if you're ever second guessing a decision or if you're wondering which way to go, just make it personal. I mean, you truly can't go wrong that way.
That's right. And music is one of the best ways to do that. Yeah. People downplay background music a lot, cocktail hour and dinner music. But to me, that is one of the best places, because a lot of people, some of their favorites, most signature music, you can't really dance to. Like that's a lot of times how it is, but that's your time to really let that signature shine.
Yeah. So well, thank you so much for everything and for this whole production. It really is a production. We've been working for weeks. There's a green screen. There's like trussing and lighting. Yeah, it's crazy here. But you're amazing. Thank you so much for everything.
You're rocking it. You're so great. And if you need like another water break, I'll come in. I'll try and stand in for you, but probably won't be able to.
He's also doing like 50 things behind the scenes, giving me cues, switching out cameras.
I was going to do a special confetti blast for our winner of this. Is that okay?
Yes. So Eric is graciously giving away. If you are a Fireside Events client, you get a free CO2 cannon. I feel like this is going to be very loud.
It's going to be loud. Get ready.
But if you are not a Fireside client, you get a free t-shirt, and everybody loves free t-shirts.
Yes.
So we are gonna get our Wheel of Fortune up here again and choose a very lucky random winner.
Here comes the wheel. All right, it's spinning. Now when this goes, I'm gonna shoot off this confetti cannon. I'm gonna get in front of you and I'm gonna fire it. Here we go.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yay! Woo! Oh my God.
Yeah. Nice.
That's so fun.
Yeah, Nick is our warehouse manager. He's gonna kill me for doing
I was
that.
just gonna say, who's gonna clean all this up?
He's smiling right now behind the camera, but he's actually just like,
Everywhere.
I hate you, Eric.
Right. He's like, why did you do that?
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I'll get out of here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Now that my hearing is permanently damaged, no. We are going to move into our catering segment. And my next guest is Nikki Heckman, who is the owner of Bistro To Go Catering. And they offer inspiring, locally sourced menus and culinary experiences. And Nikki is one of my favorite people to work with. I've hired her to cater 2 of my son's birthday parties. And I did not know this, but she was actually an artist and a watercolorist before getting into catering. Not really, a very obvious segue, but I'd be interested to hear about that at another time. But thank you so much for being here, Nikki. How are you?
I am thrilled to be here.
Good.
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is an amazing group of vendors. And what we do, you need a team. You can't do it by yourself. So especially Fireside Events, Wanderlust, all of these vendors we have worked with at one time or another. So thank you so much, Victoria.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bistro To Go has an amazing cafe on the north side. So if you are not familiar with them, or if you already have your wedding caterer picked out, go and have lunch at their cafe. The food is delicious. But I want to jump right into our questions. I know we have a lot of good ones that pertain to catering itself and a lot of people who want to pick your brain, Nikki. But I think one of the things that people struggle with, and even more so after COVID, is not realizing how expensive it is to feed and serve drinks to 100+ of your friends and family. And that is essentially what you are doing at a wedding. You are feeding dinner, plus drinks, plus appetizers to all of your guests. And that can add up very, very quickly. So how do you work with couples to bring their wedding food dreams to life while working within their budget?
Well, a lot of our brides obviously aren't looking for a cookie cutter experience. They're looking for wow. They're looking for intimate. They're looking for something that says, this is our love story. So it's very, very different than when you would go to everything in a one-stop shop. And so right away, people think it's going to be less expensive if they do a wedding and they're not a great grand place like that has everything, a hotel. Yeah. And so what they find out very quickly is everything is into packages. And a venue really affects your pricing. So first, pick the right venue. Pick the venue that is going to meet your needs. If you want to be a bride that really picks all your details and is, for me, I'm a little bit of a micromanager. I was saying I'm a tiny micromanager because I want to control everything. Yeah. And a lot of our brides are like that today. They want to be able to very intimately plan every detail of that wedding. So the costs are all relative. You can have a venue that does your china, it's included, your linen, that's included, and that's in your venue cost. So that's definitely going to affect your cost of catering. There are some caterers that put china in their packages. A lot of times they are only renting that china. Sometimes it's upcharged. Sometimes it's included in the price. Just like Fireside said, there's a wide gambit of pricing. You can do a beautiful wedding for a very low cost budget, get all the bells and whistles. You can make a decision not to do water glasses and do fruit infused water decanters and save a staff person. And today that is critical in your budgeting.
And I think there are so many factors that go into what things cost. And so that's why it makes it very difficult to say, this is what you should be spending on your wedding, or this is the average cost of a wedding, because every package is different. And so you're not really comparing apples to apples, when you are just looking at flat pricing, because one place might include a lot more, and therefore, obviously, the price is a little bit higher.
And your food quality is going to vary. Your food quality is going to vary. Your caterer is going to vary. The distance you travel might affect it. The method you're serving. It's going to affect whether you're doing a plated dinner, whether you're doing a buffet dinner. So we really strive, in our company, to really align budgets with visions. Every bride deserves a day of their dreams. Every single bride. It makes me cry to think about it because I think like they're my daughters. They all deserve a great day. And so we really match that budget. And if we know the budget up front, it's so important. It's like when you're buying a dress. You see this, yes, this is the dress. You don't want to try on a $12,000 dress when you can only afford a $300 dress.
Mm-hmm.
You would be out of your league to some degree, and you would be disappointed. So if we know a budget, it's like buying a house. There's a $100,000 house. There's a $500,000. So wedding is the same way.
Yeah.
We can make that wedding come into a budget with little small changes that you couldn't even begin to imagine. So that's really helpful. We customize.
Yeah, and this is where leaning on those professionals is so important. You hired this team to do a particular job and you hired them for their expertise. So lean on them, ask them questions, let them help you, because that's what they are there for.
And you're really important in the picture too, Victoria. I think you really are. You provide such great information to brides. I look at your posts all the time, and it's really about equipping the bride to have the day they can afford and live after the wedding. Why do you want to have a day you can't afford? You want a dream day, but you want to be able to have a great marriage after it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is definitely something I strive to do. I like to provide our readers with the education they need to make their decisions confidently. And as much as I love the details and the pretty linens and the cakes and the fluffy dresses, it is just a party. It's a great party, and it should be fabulous, and it should be one of the best days of your life. Yeah. But it is just a party, and all of that stress and the pressure we put on ourselves. I hope to eliminate some of that, through this platform and through the resources that we provide. So thank you. That was very kind.
Wow. I really do think it's helpful, because by the time they get to us, they have an idea. You're only doing this, hopefully, a few times in your life, hopefully once. So it's not like you have a treasure trove of experience to figure it out. So you're really at the mercy of your vendors. So you want to check out their credentials. You want to make sure that who you're dealing with is somebody who's going to really do it for you. It's all about your day. And if they're not passionate when they talk to you and they're not calling you right back, they're not the right people to deal with.
Yeah, hiring the right team is so important.
Yeah.
So I know that tented wedding receptions and backyard weddings became very, very popular in 2020, and they have continued to stick around. But tented and backyard weddings pose a few challenges for caterers. So what are some things that couples should consider or that they should keep in mind when planning a backyard or a tented wedding, particularly when it comes to catering?
Well, I'm going to talk about planners here, because I think when you're doing a backyard wedding, that is when you want to put someone in that's a planner like Wanderlust.
Yes.
Do your homework there, because they have, with their knowledge, they have people they work with that they can get discounts. They can go along and pick the best tent company. We work with somebody exclusively, but we also work with everybody in this industry. And the prices vary a wide range. The quality varies a wide range. Most caterers need a tent to do their work. Mm-hmm. We come table ready. That's what Bistro to Go prides themselves in, is we don't want to charge you $4,000 because we're cooking on site in this big mirage of a kitchen. However, we don't want to bust your dishes in front of your guests. And that's not going to be pretty in the front of your wedding. So usually you have to have a secluded place, like an extra tent. Well, brides are often very mesmerized, like, how does that work? You need a tent just to bust dishes. But we do, because what if it rains? Mm-hmm. And it needs to be lit because you're going to be dark. Mm-hmm. And I can remember an event at Cook's Florist. We were out there, and the bus was coming. The tent got broke down. There was no lights there, and we were left standing there. And the last thing they said to us is, "Watch out for the bears," right? Right? Because you don't think of those things, but you're out in the middle. We do weddings in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to think of. You have to think of all those details that your vendors are going to be with. In the middle of nowhere when you do a tent or a backyard that's smaller.
I'm glad that you brought up the wedding planner, because that is most definitely a time where you need to leave all of that to the professionals. But yes, there is a lot to consider, especially for the catering team. You know, where are they going to plate and prep? You know, like you said, where are they going to bus? It's things like that, you know, that can't be done in someone's residential kitchen, and you're going to need room for. So things like that need to be considered.
Right. And she's the bride. We don't want our brides thinking of any of that.
Yeah.
So if we don't have a planner, we fill that gap. We are the planner. The venue does provide some help, but we take on all those responsibilities. Now, I always say be in your gift set. You know, we are definitely creative with food. We do wild displays and beautiful food. It's great when we have a planner that works beside us, that all of a sudden is our point person. It really makes the day a success.
So you are known for your tasting experience at Bistro To Go. So can you tell us a little bit what that is like, what couples who have hired you can expect from their tasting experience?
Yeah. Well, tastings at Bistro To Go, I have Chef Kate sitting beside me. You can't see her, but she just finished a tasting. And Bistro To Go tastings are mini weddings. I think it's very difficult when you're going into the best day of your life and you cannot imagine what that's going to be like. I don't know how people do group tastings. I don't know how they do food, whether you don't taste your own, but we do tastings so that they have an experience, because when they're on their wedding day, you are going to be so busy that you hardly have time to eat the food. That is reality.
It's so sad, but it's so true.
Well, that would break my heart because we planned for 2 years. I journey with that bride all the way through. It makes me cry. And for that wedding tasting, they have a day that they see their displays, they see what it's going to look like, they taste their food, and we want it to look the exact same way on their wedding day and taste the same. And if it doesn't, we've done something wrong. Even though we're doing it for 200 people, it needs to be the same experience. So they come with 6 of their favorite people. They come to usually their family. They get a 2-hour experience. They bring a bottle of wine. They sit in our cafe from the 1800s. It's breathtaking. And my lead chef and my manager, and every night we do a tasting, is there with that bride and groom. That's how important it is in its experience. And we answer all their questions. So by then, we don't even look for a deposit till after that tasting. It is about making sure every detail is right. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is a special, special experience. And, you know, I personally, from working with you just on my son's birthday party and the care and the attention that you gave to those small events, I know that, you know, with an event like a wedding where the bar is even higher, that you guys deliver every single time. So you are truly amazing at what you do.
Well, thank you. I think it does take the bride's interaction. It's a relationship. Our mission statement is creating extraordinary relationships through food. And so we put relationships first. Because if that doesn't happen, then we're part of the memory forever. And we want it to be everything you wanted to imagine from the moment you meet us.
Now, I hear from a lot of couples that, you know, they'll say, people don't even remember the food at weddings. And I think that is not true. I think you remember it if it's really, really good, or you remember it if it's really, really bad. And what would you rather have your guests remember? You know, really, really amazing food or not so great food? So you guys you hit it out of the park every single time.
Well, thanks. And I can tell you, they're not going to remember the plate you ate the cake off of. They are not going to remember the glass that you drank that bottle of beer from, but they are going to remember the food. They're going to remember the kiss. They're going to remember the dress. They're going to remember the ambiance. They're going to remember the dancing. So the way you serve that is very, very important to get all those experiences right.
Yeah. One question that I get asked a lot is from couples who are providing the alcohol for their own reception. And a lot of couples choose to do this because it's a great way to save some money. But they usually have a lot of questions about like how much alcohol they should purchase. Do they need to also get things like mixers and ice and, you know, bar supplies? Can you offer any advice to couples who are choosing to BYOB? What are some things that they should consider when choosing to do so?
Okay, so first you have to pick a venue that doesn't have a license, because if some of the venues, I would say 25% of the venues we work with serves their own. And if they do, you're going to have that $40 to $50 per person tag on top of your rental fee. So know that. The other thing is some of those venues use outside bartenders like we do. We love to use subcontracted bar services. There's 2 great ones we use in the city of Pittsburgh. We make it a point to do that, not because anybody can't serve in Pennsylvania. Anybody can serve in Pennsylvania. That's not the deal. It's the liability that goes with that.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to protect yourself today. We just lived through one of the worst nightmares we've ever had. So we know bad things happen. We don't want that to happen on your wedding day where there's a lot at risk. So when you choose your bartender, you choose your caterer, make sure they're insured every bit of the way. That little package you get isn't going to cover you if something goes wrong. So consider that. Also consider, where is your ice coming from? Where is your mixtures coming from? As a caterer, we can provide everything, but you still have choices, and those choices end up reflected in your budget. You know, all of those decisions equal a budget. If you have good vendors, a good vendor team, they're going to help you accomplish your vision on the budget you set. There's no advantage to me to take you over your budget. So all of those details, when you think about bar, you think about mixers, ice, all matters. You can rent ice machines, but there's a charge for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's a solution to just about every problem, but obviously that comes, you know, with added costs. But yeah, BYOBing can be a great way to save a little bit of money.
Oh, absolutely.
I know a lot of couples choose to go that route.
Yeah, well, these are great questions. So
yeah,
thank you so much. Is there anything else I can answer?
Well, I think that you have been so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of these great tips.
You're amazing.
You have so graciously also contributed to our giveaway. So one lucky winner is going to get a free wedding day lunch for the wedding party with a booked catering package with Bistro to go. So if you haven't booked your caterer yet, this is going to be an awesome prize. You should definitely eat lunch while you're getting ready. No one likes a hangry bride. So our lucky winner is Jennifer Greenlee. So congratulations. I will connect you all afterwards. And thank you so much for being here again, Nikki.
And I would also give that to them even if they didn't book with Bistro. So
oh my gosh, you're so nice.
Thank you so much for having me here.
This is why I love you. You're the best. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye now.
Yeah. So our next segment, we are moving right along to my personal favorite, which is the cake segment. And my guest is Fran, the owner of Cakes by Colby, which is a unique bakery known for custom artistic wedding cakes made from the freshest, finest ingredients. And Fran's specialty is actually creating these very intricate, realistic flowers made entirely of sugar. And you wouldn't even know that they weren't real flowers unless I told you. They are that beautiful. So thank you so much for being here, Fran. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you for coming, letting me be here.
Yeah.
Sorry I had the trouble getting in.
That's okay. That's okay. That's why I have this whole team from Fireside.
Yeah, they were very nice.
Nick
Nick was wonderful, wonderful to work with.
Good. Well, I am glad you are here, and we are going to jump right in. So like I said, you are known for your intricate sugar flowers. Now, what are some advantages of these tiny works of art over putting real flowers on your wedding cake?
Well, first, it's a form of art. It's sugar flowers are art. They're not just a flower to put on a cake.
Yeah.
It's sort of hard to explain because most people don't know what sugar flowers are. They never heard of them. People come into my studio saying, I'm going to put real flowers on my cake. Nothing against the florists. They have lots of flowers. And they look at my sugar flowers and say, oh, these are beautiful. Yeah. What? Of course I would want these. And I'm going to hold these up. This is a rose I did. These are actually
gorgeous.
These are actually 4 years old. And I could twist them and I can sculpture them. I can make them bigger. I can make them smaller. If you have a wedding in July and you want to have daffodils, and of course daffodils in season, I can make you daffodils.
Yeah.
I can make any color you want. I do all sorts of research to really feel like this cake is part of you. The bride's dress, obviously the flowers the florist is going to use, the colors. It's all part of it.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course they don't die. And they don't die.
I know.
That's
I remember.
Important things.
That's the best part about it is these flowers can be saved and they don't have to end up in the trash like, the centerpieces probably will. Right. But you can save them like you would any other memento from your big day.
That's right. They don't die. I call them keepsake flowers. In other words, you can keep them forever. I supply a box with little paper in it, and the florist, the caterer, before they cut the cake, they take the flowers off the cake, put them in a box, and of course it goes in with the bride.
I love that.
It works out very nicely.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so I'm going to ask you the same question that I'm asking everyone, the loaded question. On average, and again, there are many factors that go into this, but on average, what should couples be budgeting for their wedding cake?
Well, I've been looking at that question, and it is very hard to do. And there's so many factors that go into the wedding cake. And I really try to get to know my clients, get to know the bride and groom, their parents. Everyone comes to a tasting, and we'll talk about that later. But putting a figure on it is really hard. But I can help them if they have a budget, and some sort of a budget, where some flowers take a lot of time to make, and other flowers I can just whip them out. Well, they're the flowers that you want to try to put in a budget that is not exactly what would fit.
Right.
So that's so I don't really want to just blurt out a figure, because I just don't think it's fair. There are just so many things, because I'm an artist.
Yeah,
I'm not your baker.
Well, I think that's the perfect answer. And I think, that was kind of sort of what I was looking for anyways. There are so many factors that play into how each vendor prices their services or their products. And there really is no one size fits all budget, whether it's for your cake, for your photographer, for your overall wedding. It really is personal and custom, and it's all what works for you as the couple, and finding someone who can work within that budget.
Right.
So that was a perfect answer, actually. Okay. Yeah. So there are so many amazing cake artists here in Pittsburgh. How can couples go about finding the right one for them? What are some steps they should take?
Well, you're right. There are many cake artists in Pittsburgh, and they're growing, and it's really nice, I think, because it's just not a cake anymore. People are really taking more interest in the cake. They're spending maybe a little bit more money on the cake, and it's really nice. So they it works.
Yeah, I think that, thinking of the cake as not just a cake, but thinking it as a focal point in your decor, another way to bring your wedding aesthetic to life. The cake has its own moment at the reception. There's a dedicated song for the cake, a dedicated table for it. So it's not just a cake, it has meaning. And like we were talking about with the flowers, there are ways to infuse your personality into that wedding cake. Maybe it's, maybe you grew up eating a particular flavor of cake and you want to have that as one of the layers. Or maybe, you have a really funny story of baking a cake together and totally botching it. I don't know. But there are lots of different ways that you can infuse memories and your own personalities into a wedding cake. So it becomes personal and it becomes something that's meaningful and not just a cake anymore.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I do want to talk a little bit about your cake tasting process. Yes. But first, when do you advise couples have their cake tasting?
Well, as soon as possible. And you want to book your baker very, very, because everyone wants to get married on the same weekend. That's what happens.
Like the wedding boom is real.
Everyone wants that day. And, I can't do, I'm a boutique bakery, so I can't do that many cakes in a weekend. So as soon as possible is best. And of course, coming to the tasting is very important.
Yeah. And do you encourage couples to invite others to the cake tasting as well? Is it kind of like the venue tour where, their parents are welcome, or do you like to kind of just have it be the couple?
Well, I sort of have a process. I really try to email them, or we text, we talk on the phone to see whether we're a good fit, if they sort of like what I do. All of my reviews, my work that I do. I want to make sure that they really, understand, what I design. And then I invite them to a tasting. I invite, 4 people. I have a cake tasting room where I put fine linen, I have china, I use crystal, and I make little tiny cakes. And I give them 3 options of cakes, 3 options of fillings. I don't give them a cupcake. They get a little cake. And I basically, let them, I leave the room, I let them to talk. I talk among yourselves, see what you like. And then I come into the room and then we talk about the flavors and we talk about the design consultant portion of it. And our cake tasting, my cake tastings are really special. And it gives me a chance to really know the couple and what they're looking for. And then I'll do a sketch of something I have, or they have something on their phone that they show me, and I can take that as inspiration, not copying, but just inspiration.
Yeah.
So that's and then they take the cake home, what they don't eat, and they can give that to people who couldn't come to the tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I love cake, and I think cake is so important. I know a lot of people, some people are not as big of a cake fan as I am, and they feel like,
You do like cake.
therefore it's not quite that important. And if that's you, I say there are lots of other dessert options out there if you feel like a cake's not for you. Just because it's a tradition doesn't mean that you have to have it if it's not reflective of you and your style. But if you are looking for a beautiful cake, might I recommend Fran at Cakes by Colby, because her cakes, not only are they beautiful, but they also taste delicious, which I feel like is sometimes a combination that is hard to come by. Some cakes are very pretty to look at, but they don't taste quite as good. But you check all the boxes.
Thank you. There's lots of new flavors that people are asking for. Lavender, honey lavender. And it's quite interesting. People are getting more sophisticated in their cakes, the taste. You don't have to have just one flavor in the cake. You can have 2, 3. Sometimes, and that's all really nice for me, because we're trying to elevate the cake in the wedding and the reception more so than what it used to be. I take pride in what we're going to do, what kind of cake stand's going to be there, what's the table, what's the linen going to be, where it's going to be in the room. The lighting, I want a spotlight on that cake. I don't want it in the dark room.
It's a work of art.
I want people to see the cake.
Yeah.
So there's more things than just the cake.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of these great tips. And
Thank you.
you have graciously offered one lucky winner $100 off a wedding cake, over $1,000, which is that's amazing. And we are going to spin our Wheel of Fortune here again. And I don't know what this thing is called. I've just started calling it the Wheel of Fortune. So Marlena, congratulations. I will connect you with Fran afterwards. And thank you so much for being here again, Fran.
And thank you, Victoria. I appreciate it.
So my next guest is Angelia, the owner of Blanc de Blanc Bridal, which is an intimate and chic Pittsburgh wedding fashion boutique that carries modern and fashion-forward designs. And fun fact, Angelia recently got engaged herself, so congratulations. But she says she's totally clueless when it comes to planning her own wedding. So I hope you've been taking notes this evening, Angelia.
And this has been so useful for me, being a bride myself, which is, it's been so helpful. I'm getting so many ideas, and I want to vendors. But
Good.
Beautiful production. My goodness.
Oh, thank you. Thank Fireside Events. Yes, it's all them. If I didn't have them, this would be done from like my game room, and it would not be nearly as fun. So thank you for being here. I know we have a lot of great questions geared towards you. Most popular question, and one I hear so often, is when should a bride start shopping for her wedding dress?
Yeah, so And when shopping at Blanc de Blanc, we recommend brides shopping from like 9 to 12 months before their wedding date. Once you say yes to that dress, it takes about 4 to 6 months to come in. And then we recommend having about 3 months time for alterations, just to get the gown tailored perfectly to you before your wedding day. And we start that. Yeah.
Now, have these timelines been impacted by COVID and the shipping delays and all of that stuff?
Fortunately, for a lot of our designers, they create their gowns domestically, so we haven't had that much interruption in the supply chain or their production timeline. I know right now, like after the holidays and through the month of February, it's Chinese New Year, so that actually kind of just elongates all of the production timelines for brides. A lot of them, of the designers, don't offer like rush orders if girls are shopping, less than 4 to 6 months before their wedding.
Yeah, that is a very good point. A lot of the designers that you carry are US-based designers, or their dresses are made domestically. So that's definitely something that can work in brides' favor if they're worried about things like shipping delays and things like that. Yeah, now, bridal sizing, which is that we could do a whole Q&A just about bridal sizing. But bridal sizing is very, very different from street sizing. So, when I go to buy a pair of jeans, I'm one size, but when I go to try on a wedding dress, I could be a very, very different size. So talk a little bit about bridal sizing and what women need to know when they go wedding dress shopping, some things they should keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. So just in terms of shopping, boutiques carry like one select size of each certain sample. So the samples that we carry range from about a size 10 to a size like 18 and 20. We try to like really get a large range of sizes to include a lot of different body types. However, that the sizing runs a little bit smaller, like kind of a regular pair of jeans, I would say that no two designer size charts are the same. Yeah. And really encourage brides to not look at that size tag in the gown, because everything is just so different. I would say it's a comparable, when I go shopping at the mall, H&M sizes are so different from like Banana Republic. It kind of just really depends on where you're shopping. Yeah. So it's just kind of all over the board. So we just try to take those measurements, order that gown from the designer as close to your measurements as possible. And then, that's where the alterations come in to really tailor that gown perfectly to the bride's figure, to really get that bust support and all the straps and really kind of like show off their body with all their curves and everything.
Yeah, it is so important to not get hung up by that number in the dress or by the number that you're measuring at. Because it's really meaningless, and it's so different from typical street sizing, and it varies from designer to designer. So I know it's much more easily said than done, but if you can just keep that in mind, hopefully it will make the process a little bit more enjoyable for you.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what are some ways that brides can prepare for the wedding dress shopping process? Do you encourage them to look for inspiration online? Should they research some designers that they like? What are some things they can do to prepare in advance?
Yeah, absolutely. I would recommend, starting that process by doing their research. Wherever you're going shopping, look at the designers that they carry. Go to those designers' websites and kind of, look at the styles you're interested in trying on, kind of look at the different colors and fabrics as well. And then we also recommend when booking an appointment with us, like show us your Pinterest board. We want to see all of your inspiration. We love seeing details of even like your florals you're going for, your venue. It really helps us kind of, get a style for the wedding that you're going to have.
Yeah, definitely. I think the dress plays into the whole aesthetic so much, and it should really be cohesive with other things like your floral and your venue selection. You really have to think big picture about all of it, so that it all kind of weaves seamlessly together.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the alterations process and kind of what that is like.
Yeah, so that's my favorite part. I run all of our fittings here at Blanc de Blanc. So I really love working with the brides when it's getting closer to their wedding date. So we start that process about 3 months before the date. And from start to finish, we have about 3 to 4 fittings total. Brides will come in for their first fitting. We will do all of their alterations, from taking up the straps, taking it in, doing their hem and bustle. And about 2 months after that, we have them come back in. We do that second fitting. We'll do any nips and tucks if we need to. And then if we do need to make any additional adjustments, they will come back about 2 weeks before their wedding date. They usually bring a friend because we go over how the dress bustles and everything. And then everything is good to go. It's so fun to see bride from like start to finish.
Yeah, I bet. I love seeing, photos of them when they said yes to the dress, and then photos of them on the actual wedding day. It's just, it like comes full circle then.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope that it has been helpful to you as a bride-to-be, but I really appreciate you sharing your expertise. And you have also contributed an amazing giveaway to this evening. So one very lucky bride-to-be is going to get a complimentary Blanc de Blanc veil or a pair of Olive and Piper earrings. Both are fantastic prizes. So we are going to get our Wheel of Fortune up here again, and we're going to choose one very lucky winner.
I think it's so cool.
I know, I was just going to like pick names out of a hat, but this is way better. Yay, Stephanie, congratulations. So I will connect you guys afterwards. Thank you again for being here. And seriously, if you need any help with your own wedding, you know who to call.
I absolutely do. Thank you.
All right, so we had a little bit of a change to our program tonight. Unfortunately, Jay from JL Makeup Studio was sick today, and she was unable to join us. But Samantha Harris, the talented artist behind Samantha Harris Makeup, graciously agreed to step in, and I am so thankful that I was able to scoop her up to chat with you all this evening. I know that she is also a bride-to-be herself, so congratulations, Samantha. And she was signed up already to attend, but then I snagged her and asked her to be a panelist at the last minute. So thank you for being so flexible, Samantha.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So I think hair and makeup, there are so many questions surrounding this. And again, I feel like we could have a Zoom session for each one of these. But what are some things that brides should consider when searching for a makeup artist? Because this is a very important vendor for the wedding day.
Yeah, I think it's first and foremost important to like their style. You should go through their socials, which is like the modern day portfolio, and see their look. You have to like their work. If you want really dark makeup, is that one of their specialties? If you want airbrush, so those factors are important. And I think another thing that's super important as well is to have a trial with your vendors. Of course, it would get pricey to have a trial with lots of different artists, but I think that's important because then you get to see their personality. This is somebody that's with you all morning when you get ready, through all your morning jitters and all the hustle and bustle. So it's really important to have someone that you feel super comfortable with and that kind of can help with your energy that morning for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you brought up the trial, because a trial is so important. Yes, it's another fee, but I think it's money well spent, because you will have that reassurance that you are going to look and feel your best on your wedding day, and you can use the trial as a time to kind of work out all of the kinks in the look you're going for. But one question that I do hear from couples from brides sometimes is they had their trial and they ended up not liking it. So in a situation like this, what is some advice for the bride? I have my thoughts, but I want you to go first.
Yeah, I think it's super important, honestly, to just be honest with your vendors. We want you to be happy. It would never hurt my feelings if somebody said, hey, I decided I really don't want to wear purple eyeshadow when I get married. This doesn't make me feel pretty. This isn't the look I wanted. Which I think too, it's important to bring pictures. Your artist should ask you lots of questions like, you know, if someone shows me a picture of J-Lo, or like that would be my inspiration, it might not be that I even like her makeup. Maybe I just want to look like her. So it's deciding like, do you like the makeup, or, you know, like what is the overall look you're trying to achieve? But yeah, I think just being honest, because it really does not hurt our feelings. We want you to feel beautiful. We know that that is the most important day of your life, and you need to feel like you're sure that's how you want to look.
Absolutely. And I feel like it's important to be honest in the moment. You know, if you're feeling uncomfortable in that chair as they are doing it, speak up, say something. The trial is meant for you two to have a conversation, to go back and forth, to really fine tune that look so that you are happy. Don't wait until you get home and, you know, you're already upset and you don't know what to do, because then you're looking at another trial, or finding a new artist. But I really think it's best for you to speak up in the moment so that you two can work those things out together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are some perks to having an artist that can travel to you on the morning of your wedding? Let's say you're getting married, or you're getting ready at home, or at your parents' home, or in a hotel. What are some advantages to having a team come to you that morning?
Definitely the convenience, and, you know, you don't have to readjust the morning schedule to add travel time to another destination that might be really far away from where you're getting married. So it just kind of makes everything really easy and smooth. And then you can be ready in an environment that you're more comfortable in as well, which is always great, because there's, I'm sure, so many like day of jitters and things you're trying not to forget. So it's nice to kind of be in your own space instead of carrying all your belongings to a different space. So yeah, I think there's lots of benefits.
Absolutely. What are some things that a bride should consider when choosing where to get ready that day? Like, for example, should they try to find a spot that has a lot of natural light, or, you know, really big windows, lots of space? What are some things like that that they should consider?
Yeah, definitely the lighting in the windows is super helpful. But I know from experience, actually, a lot of hotels don't always have rooms with like the best lighting. And sometimes the rooms with the big windows are booked. So having that conversation with your artist, I know I always bring my own lights and chairs and things, because I know hotels aren't always like equipped for makeup or, you know, hair or whatever. But yeah, I think it's just important to, you know, to just have that conversation, like, where do you need me, and kind of scope that out before you book. Maybe ask the hotel, like, is there windows, is there good lighting, or bring your own, you know, whatever the case may be. But yeah, that's definitely super important.
It makes you wonder what makeup artists did before ring lights came around, because
I know. I don't know.
Yeah. So how should a bride go about determining what type of look they are going for their wedding day? Like, do you recommend that your clients, you know, kind of scour Pinterest or Instagram, look for inspiration photos like from celebrities or other people that they like? What do you kind of advise your clients to do?
Yeah, definitely the inspiration pictures are huge. I always tell clients to try not always to stray super far away from the way you always look, because then you might feel uncomfortable. You might like it, but you might also feel uncomfortable. I do find that a lot in trials. People really want to experiment, and they're like, let's do like orange or like purple or something fun. And then the day of, they're like, so it was great, but let's do neutral, like more like I always look. Yeah. So I think just enhance your natural features and play up what you really enjoy is the best way to go every time.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to look like yourself, but a little bit elevated. Is there one thing that you recommend that all brides go for, or like at least try? Especially like those brides who are like, I don't wear a whole lot of makeup in real life. So I don't want to wear a whole lot on my wedding day. But is there like one thing where you're like, you should really add a little bit more blush for all of those photos, or you should really consider the fake eyelashes? Like, is there one thing that you really recommend?
You hit the nail on the head. That's always what I say whenever they're getting ready. I'm like, you always want a lash, even if it's small, even if when you look at yourself in the mirror, you think, this is really different. I can really see it. It's so crucial for photos. It really makes the photos. And same thing with blush. Blush fades the fastest. So if you feel a little clownish before you leave, I promise by the time you get there, it is like just the right amount.
Yeah. Even before this, I was like putting on more blush because I was like, I can't look washed out on screen.
Me too.
Yeah. But definitely, you need a little bit more makeup than what you wear in everyday life because you are going to be photographed. You are possibly going to be on video. And you just need a little bit more color so that your skin picks up nicely through the cameras.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you so much, especially jumping in here last minute. I hope that you were able to get a lot of good tips for your big day.
Yes, this has been so helpful. I was planning on attending anyway, so thank you for asking me to be a part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I forgot to mention about Samantha is she is actually very active on YouTube and she has amazing tutorials and she'll do like product reviews. And I don't really ever watch YouTube videos, but I watch Samantha's because she's just like so relatable and personable and she gives really good makeup tips. So you guys can check her out on YouTube as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon.
All right, so we are going to move right along. My next guest is Jessie. She is the creative director at Henny Jewelers. Henny is a family-owned and operated jewelry store in the heart of Shadyside, and they have been in the Pittsburgh market for over 140 years. Jessie is one of the most talented and hardworking people that I know, and I recently learned that she was a single mom in New York City for over 5 years, and my respect for her just like quadrupled when I learned that, because that sounds really hard. But thank you so much for being here, Jessie.
Of course. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah. So in terms of the ring itself, what are some things someone should do immediately after getting engaged?
You definitely need to get your ring insured. And this seems like an obvious thing, but a lot of people wait until after the honeymoon to like handle the paperwork.
That gives me heart palpitations just thinking about that.
Same.
Traveling without this thing being insured?
Yeah, I can't stress enough that if you go on a honeymoon and you're just, enjoying your life and you're on the beach and you're swimming in the ocean and then all of a sudden the cold water makes your ring finger just shrink and your ring just floats off and does a solo, swim to the bottom of the ocean. That ring is lost forever. And if you don't have it insured, that's a very stressful part of your honeymoon that I hope nobody ever experiences, but especially if you don't have any backup plan like insurance. So I know that when people buy their rings from us, like we stress that like way up front, but it's always a good reminder because it's one of those like technical things that when you're excited about your ring, you're not really thinking insurance. That's kind of like a type A thing to check off a list. And you're like, I just want to celebrate. But please, as soon as the ring is in your possession, get online and get your ring insured.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I posted a reel a couple of weeks ago about 5 things to never do while wearing your engagement ring. And
I really appreciate that you did.
Thank you. Yes. I was quite surprised at how many people were like, I do all of those things while wearing my engagement ring. Things like putting on lotion, washing your hair, doing the dishes, cleaning, working out. Yeah, I was surprised at how many people were like, yep, I do all of those things. And truly, I actually don't ever wear my ring unless I'm leaving the house. And sometimes not even then. It sits in a drawer most of the time because I'm always cleaning something. I have a toddler. He's always covered in peanut butter. It's just not good for a diamond ring environment. It's not a good environment in my house. But what are some ways that a soonly-wed can properly care for their engagement ring?
So I think anything, that reel was very informative. Anything that puts direct pressure on your ring, like lifting weights or even honestly shopping and you're carrying like 6 bags of groceries sometimes and like, you're really weighing yourself down because you don't want to make that 4th trip. Yeah. You have to be careful because as much as your ring, as high quality as it can be made, it's still a fairly small item. And there's only so much pressure, a prong can take, or, a shank can take. So anything that puts direct pressure on your ring, please just take your ring off. We actually sell a wristband that you can zipper and you put your ring in. So if you are working out, you can keep it with you. So you don't have to like leave it in a locker, because I know that makes a lot of people nervous. I've seen people put their rings on like a necklace. That is a fantastic way, because then it's again still on your person, but you're not putting direct pressure. Another thing that people really don't think about is chemicals. So anytime you're cleaning, again, you said like dishwashing, like depending on what you're cleaning with, there could be chemicals or abrasives in that cleaner. It's also not good for swimming, like in heavily chlorinated water. Over time, your metal is going to take a lot of hit when it comes to that. And it's unfortunate that people, don't have that education to know that. And then they come in and they're like, I just got my ring such and such time ago, and now it looks destroyed. Well, you lifted dumbbells with it, and then you did push-ups, and then you gardened, and then you fixed your flat tire. Like, it's not going to last through those really, really crazy activities. Now, do you have to baby your ring all the time? No, but you need to be conscious of what you're putting it through.
Yeah. I think you even commented on the reel. You said something like, rings are, diamonds are really strong, but they're not indestructible, which I think is an important reminder.
I should know, and I'm going to share this. Everyone's going to laugh how they say doctors make the worst patients. My own engagement ring, I broke my diamond in half because I put my hand through a wall because I was doing a construction project. Please do not do what I did and just listen to what I'm saying. It was shocking, because I was like, I can't believe I just did that, because I know not to do that, and yet still I did it. So please don't have that happen. Thankfully I had mine insured, so back to the previous point, it actually helped. But please don't do any manual labor as well with your ring on.
No construction projects, no like jackhammering.
No, please don't.
Someone actually just said something in the chat box, which I often think about as well. She said she often wonders about all the hand sanitizer that we're using lately and rings. And that is something that I think you and I have talked about recently, about what is some advice for that? Because we can't really get away from using all the hand sanitizer.
Right. I mean, you have to think in moderation with everything. I think we're living in a time where, there's stress about everything, and every decision, is like, it means 17 other different things. If you make this decision, what else does this mean? Obviously, please still continue to use hand sanitizer when possible. The thing is that especially in the alcohol content in the hand sanitizer is actually what's going to eventually damage your ring over long exposed times. So if you see that you're using a hand sanitizer that has an especially high alcohol content, maybe just remove that ring for a quick second, rub your hands, and then put your ring back on. We also see this with a lot of commercial jewelry cleaners. And unfortunately, they have such a high alcohol content that their momentary cleaning feature actually will over time damage your ring. So it's again, don't ever stop using hand sanitizer, especially in this time. But be conscious that if you're in a place where you're doing it one time, like you're not going to hurt your ring. If you're in, maybe a medical field or a place where you're dealing with, the public a lot, and you're really using hand sanitizer multiple times a day, every single day, consider having maybe your ring on a necklace or some other way where you can still keep it with you. It's still special, but you're not subjecting it to that everyday care.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to move on to wedding rings, because that is, sort of the other half of this ring shopping experience. First of all, when should couples begin shopping for wedding rings?
So that often depends on your decision-making skills. I
like how you put that.
I've seen people that, they know exactly what they want. They designed their engagement ring with their wedding band in mind. So they knew what they wanted from the beginning. They had a set in mind. If you might be maybe a partner that didn't have as much say in your ring necessarily, or you tend to kind of want to maybe mix and match things, maybe kind of like style it a little bit differently, stackable, sets are now really, so you do multiple bands together.
Yeah.
You might take a little bit more time to make that decision than someone who's just like, I wanted a solitaire, I wanted a plain gold band, done. Like, we're done. I will say that to keep you from having the most stress on your wedding day where you're not like, oh my gosh, we forgot the wedding rings. You should start at least start looking and start talking to your jewelry professional 3 to 4 months before your wedding. Like, usually we will already have a relationship with you, so we'll kind of send you those reminders already. But if you maybe moved in the time that you bought your engagement ring and now you're in a completely different city and you don't know necessarily who to go to, start looking around, because you might not find the right jeweler for you the first time you walk into a jewelry store. You might not find the right style for you the first time you sit down to look at wedding bands. So 3 to 4 months, let's nail down that, style that you like. And usually we place the final order about 2 to 3 months, depending on where you are in that process before your wedding day. And usually you'll get that, if you do it in that timeline, you'll usually get your wedding band 3 to 4 weeks before your wedding. So that part's done. You don't have to worry about that. Now, I've also seen couples who are like, nope, we're going to get it like a year before the wedding so that we never have to worry about it. And that's what we're going to do.
Don't have to worry about it.
And then I've had people that come literally 3 weeks before the wedding and they have no idea what they want. And they're like, help. So, we always like to, leave room for those people because, life is life and you get busy. But your good rule of thumb is to start looking 3 to 4 months beforehand, really nail down your order 2 to 3 months before. So that way you have plenty of time. You're not rushing around the day before your wedding trying to get a wedding ring.
Yeah. Now, I feel like shopping for the bands, people think it's going to be an easy process. And then they quickly realize how many choices and options there are out there, especially when it comes to men's wedding bands. They can get very, the details are very minor, but there are a lot of differences that you can have. So how do you help, or how do you advise a couple kind of determine what type of bands they're looking for? Should they do research in advance, or should they just come to you with like an open mind? What do you recommend?
Yeah, I think that usually there's usually a partner who's probably more detail oriented and probably a partner who's more free flowing. If you were to look at like a heterosexual couple, we can make the stereotype that the girl's going to have more input on the rings because she's really passionate about that, where maybe the man might not necessarily be that interested and is like, I'll figure it out later. Like, who cares? Like, they're not even thinking that.
Yeah.
However, that stereotype can actually swap, and I've seen it swap many times between many relationships and many people. So it just depends on who's doing the shopping, when and where. But I think that, again, and like a lot of these vendors have said, pick your style before you start actually sitting down. Like, look online, see like, hey, I really like, something that is completely blinged out. Like I want really, really cool, can see it from across the room, and that's what I want. Or you have people that are like, I want something that's made of an alternative material, such as like, tungsten or meteorite or dinosaur bone. I've made one of those rings and they do exist. It's, so then you have those like more quirky styles, which might take a little bit more time to figure out how you're going to make that as opposed to just a plain band. Again, look at your style. If you have a super classic wedding, if you picked a super classic tux and ball gown, most likely you're not going to be walking down the aisle with a dinosaur bone ring. But if maybe, that's your jam, that's cool. But usually look at your style, look online, and also talk to your jewelry professional. Usually we're the first vendor in your wedding journey because we go before the wedding planning even starts. We're there for the engagement.
Yeah.
So we've already had a chance to get to know you, get to know your partner, get to know what you like. We've seen the Pinterest boards. We've seen the not so subtle hints that, people keep sending in emails. So we might be able to kind of guide you and say, hey, maybe instead of looking at 500 rings, we'll pick 15. And out of that 15, you pick 5. And then out of that 5, we'll give you our opinion. Like, that's kind of how I tend to like to look at it like that.
Yeah.
That's why I also say give yourself some time, because you might not get it on the first try. You might not get it you might not get it on your first visit to the store, and that's okay. You don't have to feel pressured to choose right away. It's your ring, and it's going to be on your body, hopefully, for the rest of your life,
Or
unless
you
lose it
might
in an ocean.
totally change your mind. I went in thinking I wanted a completely plain wedding band, and then they put the diamonds on my finger, and I was like, give me all the diamonds, please.
Yeah, diamonds are hard to say no to.
You might change your mind totally.
Yeah.
Okay, so very quickly, last question. You can buy anything online these days, including wedding bands. So what are some advantages to shopping with a local independent jewelry professional instead of an online retailer?
I feel like I am the most qualified to answer this question because I've been in the jewelry industry for over a decade. I was in New York City in the Diamond District. I worked on the manufacturing side. I've worked on the retail side. I've worked on the brick and mortar side, and I've worked on the online sales side. So I can tell you any any type
diamond expert.
Right. I have a plethora of experiences to choose from, and what I think is the most valuable. I think that the benefits of having a person that you work with as opposed to a website or an online sale in some way is that, first of all, you have the versatility that they can bring to that experience for you. They have the educational background. They have, the experience of saying like, hey, I've seen so many other couples come through here. I can help this situation. Like, you're not alone in this situation. Where online, you're kind of just like click, 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 and you almost get like decision paralysis because there's so many choices. So that versatility of having that relationship with your jeweler is really invaluable in a decision like this, especially because it usually ends up being a very high value decision, dollar wise. So, you want to make sure that you have that relationship with someone who's going to guide you as opposed to just a marketing ploy that's saying like, pick me, pick me. I think there's also a variety factor where you can walk into a store, our store, and you will find a variety of styles. You'll find classic, you'll find boho, you'll find, eclectic, you'll find completely plain, just very understated. You'll find something for everyone at our store. And if we don't have it in store, we'll get it for you. And I think there's that. We'll make it. Yes. Like there's that difference in that instead of just going on to a website that prioritizes profitability over your own personal style, you actually get, again, a relationship with somebody who's going to advocate for your needs and your priorities as opposed to their bottom line. The last thing I think is value. Like, and I know that this is a huge concept in our industry right now, that if you go online, you can get the cheaper version, or you can get, the best bang for your buck. It's not true. And the way that I can say this is that, let's say you go to a farmer's market, right? And you see a box of carrots, and you have a buyer who's buying for a store, and you have a buyer who's buying for a chain. The chain buyer is going to think of their, again, profitability, and they're going to buy every carrot that meets that profitability. You have a single buyer who wants the best carrot. They want the juiciest carrot. They want the best carrot that they can give, because they know that their legacy is on the line, because when somebody buys that carrot, they're going to talk about it for the rest of their life. If you have somebody who's coming in and is like, hey, I just picked the 12 carats that fit into my profitability margin, and that's, how I selected my diamonds, they're not looking at all of the factors that make a diamond beautiful or make a ring beautiful as well. They're looking at cost of production. They're looking at, bottom line of what their actual markup is going to be on these things. Where a buyer for a single store or a small chain or a small mom and pop store, they're thinking about their client and what is going to serve their client, and then what's going to serve their legacy moving forward. There's a reason why Henny's has been in business for 140 years, and it's not by cutting quarters. Like, there's a reason why they haven't made a name for themselves as being, oh, we can get you the cheapest diamonds. No, we can get you the best value. And that looks different for everyone depending on their own budget, but also their own priorities. Because we all know the 4 C's. We all know, all that stuff. A big online store is not thinking about any of that. They're only thinking about their bottom dollar. And, you know, you might see something that is, yes, cheaper, but I guarantee you're sacrificing on quality. I know you are. I personally know you are.
See, now you all know why I love Jessie so much. She is just full of knowledge, and she's so much fun to be around. And thank you so much for being here, Jessie, and for sharing all of those nuggets of wisdom. And Henny has an amazing offer for one lucky winner. You are going to get a $500 certificate good towards the purchase of a wedding band at Henny Jewelers. And that is just like, that's so incredible. Thank you so much. So we are going to choose our random winner with our Wheel of Fortune. I know, I like the sound it makes.
I do too.
Paula Robinson. Yay! So I will connect you guys afterwards. And thank you so much for being here again.
Great. I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
So you have made it. We are on our very last segment, and I have saved the best for last because everyone knows that the best part of wedding planning is getting to the honeymoon afterwards, where you can relax and finally kick back. And my final guest is Sharon, the co-owner of Broad Hill Travel. They are a local travel agency that helps families and couples plan vacations all over the world, but they specialize in all-inclusive resorts in the Dominican, the Caribbean, and Mexico. Sharon's father actually started the travel agency, and now she runs it with her niece. So thank you so much for being here, Sharon.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's been an exciting evening. I've been enjoying all of your other vendors.
Good. Yeah. I know it's a late night for everyone, so I really appreciate everyone who's still on. But I know we have lots of honeymoon questions. And the most common one that I hear is, what are some advantages to working with a travel advisor, or what are some common misconceptions to working with a travel advisor?
So the first thing that I would like to let everybody know is, with a travel agent, there are no charge for our services. So it would be the same price if you would book with a tour company online, say Sandals Vacations or Apple Vacations, as it is with the travel agent. So we work on commission from those vendors, and they're doing that so they have, less reservationists there that to answer people's questions. We're kind of their employee for while we're selling their trip. So same price with us as with them. And then we have our expertise. So we have been to, we specialize in Sandals resorts for honeymoons and destination weddings, but we are a full service travel agency. So we've been to Mexico, the DR, Hawaii, we've been to Disney World. So we are here to give you our opinions on what resorts that you may like, our firsthand knowledge of tours on the islands. We are there to help people through COVID. So the last 2 years, I don't know how anybody has not used a travel agent with the COVID policies changing, at the last minute, or even with the airline cancellations, so we're there. We've gotten calls at 3 o'clock in the morning if somebody's flight's been canceled. We're there to help them rebook, and just to keep everybody up to date on the latest COVID policies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think one of the biggest benefits, or the biggest misconceptions, is that there is no additional fee for working with a travel advisor. And that was something that I myself had not known before working with you. And now that I know that, I don't see why you wouldn't use a travel advisor for any vacation, because planning them can be a huge undertaking. And after you have already planned a wedding, that's probably, trying to plan both simultaneously can be a lot. So if you can outsource the planning at no additional cost to you, why wouldn't you? So I think it's great when couples work with travel advisors. But what are some things that couples should know or should consider about their honeymoon before reaching out to you? Like, do they need to have a budget in mind? Do they need to have a destination in mind? Can you help them figure those things out?
Yes. So it is great if you have a budget in mind, and then that gives us something to go on. Also, if you have, and not even if you know an island, but if you just know you're interested in the Caribbean or Mexico, we always have monthly webinars with sandals.com. We are top sales in the whole United States. We just found out tonight we're top 10 in the whole United States. Yeah. So we have webinars once a month. The sandals representative comes on. We go over all the different Caribbean islands. And each sandals is very different. So we need to know, and if you're not a sandals person, you know, we can look at some non-sandals properties too, but we need to know if our couples like sightseeing, if you're a beach bum, if you know, don't really care about the beach, but you like the pool, but you want to do sightseeing or hiking, you know, if you're a water sports person, that helps us help you to pick the best location for you, the best island, the best hotel for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone was just asking about those sandals webinars. I know you always promote them on your Facebook page. They are also in the Burgh Brides vendor guide, so you can find Broad Hill Travel on in the Burgh Brides vendor guide. You can find a link to their monthly webinars there. And there's always some awesome incentive for attending these webinars too, which is awesome.
Yes, so our next one is March 3rd. It is a webinar. It'll be at 6:30 p.m. They're about an hour. We do touch on all the different sandals. And then if you book within 2 weeks of that webinar, there's a $250 spa credit for booking within 2 weeks. They are booking through 2024 right now. So they'll also send us a handful of resorts so we get a private candlelight dinner for as well. So that's usually another 4 or 5 resorts on top of the $250 spa credit. And that's another $200 value. And we'll let everybody know what that is that night.
Yeah, that's amazing. So let's say a couple is, you know, they're not like beach people. They want to do the sightseeing. They want to do, you know, cultural destinations. Can you help them with trips to, let's say, Europe? Like if they want to do a European honeymoon?
So we do not do Europe. We specialize in Caribbean destination weddings, Mexico, Hawaii. We do Florida. We have not been doing Europe, where our niche is, you know, sandals and destination weddings.
Yeah, I personally, we considered a European honeymoon, but then we ended up doing an all-inclusive thing in Mexico instead. And I have to say that it was probably the best decision we made because after the wedding, we just wanted to relax. And we were happy to sit on a beach for 7 days instead of, you know, trekking around Europe, sightseeing and doing all that stuff. We did that a few years afterwards.
Same thing for Hawaii. We have a lot of people that start off wanting Hawaii, but you know, then you look at what the cost is for Hawaii, you know, and then your sightseeing and then all of your meals. And if you compare it to something, you know, like St. Lucia has a lot of mountains. It has the pitons, you know, some gorgeous, so you can see volcanoes, you can do the mud bath. And then you're talking, you know, about half the price because all of your meals and everything are included. So you can get your sightseeing as well as your all-inclusive.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here and for sharing those few tips about planning a honeymoon. I think I need to do one of these like for each vendor because there are so many questions we could just go on and on. But before we go, we have one final giveaway. Broad Hill Travel is giving one lucky winner a $25 Starbucks gift card because we all need more coffee. I know I need one right now. But our final winner of the night is going to be, drum roll please. Thank you. Oh, it's vanilla too, my favorite. Molly. So I will connect you guys afterwards. Thank you so much for being here, Sharon. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Very nice.
And thank you all for tuning in tonight. For those of you who are still around, thank you so much for sticking around till 9:45 at night. Whether you are engaged, you are helping a loved one plan a wedding, or you are a wedding professional, whether you are a new Burgh Brides fan or you've been following our platform for years, I'm so happy that you were here tonight. I hope that we were able to share lots of insight and provide some advice that will alleviate some of that stress and anxiety you are likely feeling during the wedding planning process. But just in case you need additional help, you can feel free to reach out to me at any time. I really do mean that. You can send me an email at hello@burghbrides.com. You can slide into my Instagram DMs. You can visit the Ask Burgh Brides section of my website, or you can check out my library of wedding planning downloads. And this whole thing was recorded, and I am going to send it out to everyone within the next few days. And I will be sure to include all of the names of our panelists, links to their website, to their Instagram handles, so you can get in touch with them if you have any follow-up questions. But thank you so much again. I'm looking forward to staying connected with you, and I truly wish you the best day ever. Thank you. No.